Hi, everybody. I forgot to add myself to the stage, so that's not going to work if I don't add myself to the stage. Thank you guys for coming. It said there was 4 people here like a second ago, so I might have done something wrong. We'll see what happens. It might just be me and you. Truth. Who knows? So I guess we'll give it a minute to see if people come on. I don't know if you want to come up and talk to me so that I'm not up here all alone. Who's here? Who's here? Serious? What's up? Serious, we were just talking about. Oh, thank you, girl. Truth and I were just talking about how I'm gonna eventually need to have like a mod or whatever, and PKC. So I need to figure out how to make some of y'all mods. I don't know how to do it, but if I could figure it out, and either one of you in truth would like to do it, that would be fabulous. Can you guys hear me? Okay? Is my mic too low? Not good. Truth, you want to come up? Anybody want to come up? Truth, you're gonna come up. Come on. It's Valentine's Day. And I tell Truth all the time if I was a lesbian, she'd be my girlfriend. So you have to come up and help me out there. Okay, cool. Thank you, PKC. And Serious. And Truth just has no choice. I'm making her. Yes, she definitely. So Serious. Truth definitely said that you're one of the most level headed people that she's ever met online, and she's known you for about 2 years. So I thought that that was very nice, especially coming from Truth, because we all know how nice Truth could be. I was just kidding. That was a joke. Anyway, so thank you all for joining us. This is completely off the cuff because I didn't know that I was going live. It seems like this happens sometimes on Friday nights. My husband works a very like physically taxing job, so by Friday night this time he's like dead. So and I work a taxing job, but it's more mentally taxing, and I'm just always awake. So I'm like, fuck it. Why don't I just go on YouTube? And then I'll go on YouTube and I'll go over to 12 gauge. And then when he gets done, I wind up coming over here and talking to you guys, and it winds up being like a really cool conversation. Truth, why don't you come up so that I have somebody to like bounce off of since I have like very little ready? I do have stuff that I could talk about though. So even though I have absolutely nothing, hi, Rondi. Even though I have nothing prepared, I feel like I miss somebody. So wait, Rondi, Truth, Serious, PKC. I don't know if I'm missing somebody. Hi to you if you're not in the chat or whatever. So welcome. But although I didn't realize I was going to be going on tonight, so I didn't have anything prepared. Um, I will tell you that I do have stuff that I could talk about because I've been doing so much research for this case because I want to create another video. I did that 10-minute video, 15-minute video, and then I did like a 5-minute video before. And there's so much new information. And I'm putting together another video. It's probably going to be about 10 minutes or so. But I have like my stuff. I write notes about everything. And I guess this is showing my age, but I feel like I have to like print everything out. Um, I don't know why. Does anybody else put it in the chat if you print stuff out? Or are you guys more of like a I can do it online type thing? I can do it online. I would just rather print things out and then I go online and I make like, Word documents and stuff. I obviously made this Word document, but then I printed it out. So that's pretty much what I mean. I don't know what you guys do. But anyway, I have my notes in front of me for that. So since we're already talking about Bryan Kohberger, I have notes that I could just jump right into. And I have my folder right there, which I should probably grab real quick. Hold on, let me grab my folder, you guys. 1 second. I could still talk. It's only right here. But I didn't want to show you like my butt when I got it. Not that it's a big deal, but Jane's got a big old butt. All right, let's see. So, in general, when I was doing research for this, I don't know what you guys think. Huh?
Hey,
Oh, look at that picture.
it's a
Look at
butcher's
you.
glove.
What is it?
It's a butcher's glove.
Oh my God, Truth. You're a special friend. You really are. Just above when you guys get talking, and it just seems to be my favorite ones. Oh, I appreciate that, Sirius. That is so cool. Um, so yeah, Truth makes me laugh too. I don't know. I don't know if she makes me laugh or get scared, but one of the above. But anyway, I'm not scared of you, Truth. I'm just joking. So I have like all kinds of stuff, you guys. So look, I'm such a nerd that I have like an accordion drum, and I went in and I made myself little books. I call them my hood books because here in the hood we don't have like a bunch of what are they called? The file things. What are they called? Like a binder? Yes, we don't do the whole binder thing. So instead, what we do is print out our shit, put 3 hole punches in it, and then get zip ties. And I get all different color zip ties. So Bryan Kohberger's are my green zip ties. I think Stephen Stern's are red zip ties. But that way I can easily get to the nail if I accidentally. This is how crazy I am, you guys. Like, I'm not even lying.
At least you're
But it's
organized.
you are absolutely right. And it's funny because if you would talk to my mom, she would tell you that I'm completely not organized, but I'm definitely organized. So I disagree with her. But anyway, I have all kinds of information here. So what I was doing was when I was making my books over here, this is my one with the Sigmund Freud thing that we talked about with Dr. Schultz. I have all of this stuff here. So some of the things that like I have for next week are going to be cool because we're going to continue the egotism stuff. But one of like some of the things that I found that since I've been doing my research that maybe we could like start our conversation with or whatever is I found a study that says that a threatened egotism when somebody's ego is threatened that they're more likely, which I obviously know this, they're more likely to be violent than, let's say, somebody who has a low self esteem. So I think I said this before, but always remember that anger is depression turned outward, or depression is anger turned inward, right? So I think that makes sense because low self esteem would go more with depression, and threatened egotism would go more with anger. Does that make sense to you?
Yes.
Truth? Okay. Anything you want to add to that? Um, but I'm going to look for other studies too, because I don't just take one study. I look at all different things. And then I also, so let me tell you, so after I did all of this like study searching and printing stuff out and making books, I started to like reflect on what I really thought was going on with Brian. So one of the things though that I think that's important and what I'm going to do my video on is talking about why people believe he's not or why people believe he is innocent, even though the evidence so far is showing otherwise, at least in my opinion. And again, everybody has their own opinion. Bryan Kohberger is, what is it? I almost said he's guilty. He's innocent until proven guilty in a court of law. So let me just put that out there so I don't get sued by anyone. So this is all just my opinion, allegedly. But I think it's important because what did I write here? I put about cognitive bias. So I'll be talking about that in my video. And why do some believe that Kohberger's innocent? So I put that Brian does not fit the public's typical image of a killer. He's highly educated, socially awkward, but not overtly violent, and comes off seemingly normal from a normal background. This creates a cognitive dissonance that people do not want to believe someone like him could commit such a brutal crime. So let me just
Wait a
roll.
minute. Just because he had really good impulse control doesn't mean that he wasn't violent.
No, you're right. I'm going to get, obviously, I get into that. But my thing is
Okay.
that I'm trying. So in the beginning, I try to explain. So in the first segment, I try to explain why people would think that he's innocent. So I guess to outside people, he doesn't look like a killer type thing. And he's a doctorate student and he's little, he's not a big guy and blah, blah, blah. And so I think that plays into their cognitive bias. And for anybody out there listening, if you don't know, cognitive is just your thought process. And we all know what bias is. So in cognitive dissonance that I talk about here, I should probably in the video explain what that is. But just in case anybody's listening and doesn't know what that is, dissonance is just when you believe two separate things about the same thing. So here, the cognitive dissonance would be he looks like a good guy. He's getting his degree. Like, why is everybody picking on him type thing? And the dissonance would be that if he is guilty, that's the dissonance. How do you rationalize him being guilty and you not thinking that he looks like somebody that's guilty? And then what happens to the people that are like making all of these things that he's not guilty right now? Do they concede that he might have done it, or do they double down and it becomes tribal where it's like the
No, it's gonna be a total tribal thing where he was railroaded and framed and he didn't get a fair trial. Just like they're
and that's a
screaming
shame.
about this Delphi case, even though that man
Yes, that's the one, the Delphi one.
confessed
I didn't really.
over 60 times. 60
How
times.
many?
60
No.
times. Not
So wait,
once,
why
not
do people?
twice, not 3 times. 60 times.
Wow. So PKC
Yeah.
says many of the pro burgers don't necessarily think he's innocent, but they think Ellie. You know what? That's a good point that the prosecution and stuff are guilty. So I think that's a good point. So we saw that with the OJ case, right? And right now the OJ case is getting a lot of like I think they're doing like a few people are like doing stories on it or whatever. So it's getting traction right now. But with the OJ case, I agree with that same thought process that people didn't necessarily think that OJ was innocent. They thought that the cops were guilty. So is that what you mean, PKC? I think that's what you mean. I don't know how old you are, but in the OJ chase was on my 16th surprise party. How about that one? Where were you on the OJ chase? Do you remember? Does anybody remember where you guys were on the OJ chase?
Yeah.
In the white
Well,
Bronco? Where were you?
oh my gosh, I think I watched that at home.
You were at home?
Yeah.
It was my 16th surprise birthday party. And all the
When
adults were
when was
upstairs
that
watching.
again? When was that again?
My 16th birthday would have been 93? No,
I remember.
94.
You know what?
94.
I don't remember where I was when OJ was running in the Bronco, but I
Or
do remember
92. Wait, why can't I do math right
exactly what
now?
I was when they announced Tupac's death. Ain't that crazy?
No, I know where I was too, and I know where I was when they announced Biggie's too. That's too uh, the things that are important to us. You know what I mean? But I don't know if anybody else. I guess maybe people are. I don't know if PKC and Sirius how old they are, but maybe they were too young for the whole OJ thing. Mm. I just needed
Yeah,
a drink, which is
I
why I turned
was
that off.
18. I was 18.
Yeah, it was my 16th birthday, so that's too funny. But one of the things that I wrote in here though is that there's also a wrongfully accused narrative. So the story that people want to believe. So we see real wrongful convictions before where law enforcement did get it wrong, and then I went on to look up cases where people were proven innocent after being in jail for so many years, living as a guilty person. So I'm going to show in my video one by the name of Ryan Ferguson, who was convicted based on false eyewitness testimony with no physical evidence, and he was exonerated after 10 years. And I wanted to make sure that I looked these up too, and that they weren't just cases where like the public thought that they were innocent type thing. And then there's a Cameron Todd Willingham in Texas in 1991. He was executed for arson murder due to faulty fire science. Subsequently, experts verified that the fire was accidental. Imagine that. And he was executed for it. And then one more, Ricky Jackson, Ohio, 1975, was wrongfully convicted based on false testimony from a 12-year-old boy and was released after 39 years. Isn't that crazy? So,
Yes.
wait, so what did PKC say? Yes, they usually don't argue why or how they're guilty. I see what you're saying. So they're not arguing the facts; they're arguing
Well,
the system.
Yeah, well, you got people that hate law enforcement that are in his corner. You got people that are against the death penalty in his corner that doesn't have anything to do with the case. They just want to see him walk because of their screw up, and they don't care if he's guilty.
No, you're right. You're absolutely
And
right.
I think that's a damn shame because if you let that one go, it's gonna happen again.
I
Because they
agree.
don't
I was
do
just gonna.
anything but get better. They don't do anything but get better and perfect their craft. And with the
I
education that
swear, I
he
was
has,
just gonna ask that.
with the education he has, do you think if he ever went and did it again, he would leave a sheath or he would take his
No,
phone with him? No,
no,
I
but
don't.
I do think so. Why would somebody in that situation do it again? You would think that this would scare the hell out of them and that they would never do it again. However,
If he's the top though, if he got away with it, it's because he thinks he was brilliant.
exactly. So to him, it would be like, look, not only am I so smart, I could do it again and not get away with it as well. So I do agree with you there. And again, this is our opinion, but if this is him, like if he's the guy, I do agree with that 100%. So Sirius Black says, yeah, I've always been a supporter of law enforcement and my country and community. I don't understand the anti-law enforcement in this case. I agree with you. So
Well,
I
serious.
think one of the things,
Some people live such a sheltered life that they don't realize how many bad guys are actually out there.
well, and I
They
live in
walk
like
around
Philadelphia.
naive and a little bit clueless. You know what I mean? I mean, in the street,
Absolutely.
we would call those people green.
Well, here in Philadelphia, it's just we have a lot of criminals and we do no knock warrants because if you give like if anybody has like a 10-second like
Heads
head
up, it
on
can get cop
yes,
killed.
and not all yes, and it can get rid of the evidence, they can get out the back, like and it still happens even with a no knock warrant. They still run out the back, they still are flushing shit. So it's like it still like happens, but just they get caught off guard a lot of the times. So um but yeah, I was guilty. Wait, what did you do, Texas? Hi, Texas. Um, I've been on the wrong side a couple of times, but yeah, I was guilty. That's actually funny as hell. Thank you for being honest about that. Everybody around here that I know of has been too. But I think so. We have no knock warrants here, and a lot of people are like jabbing at that, and I'm like, that's just how they do it here. Like, that's not how they do it where you live, apparently. Like the people that are complaining about it, but here they do it that way. So I don't think there was anything. He pleads the fifth. That's funny. I
Now,
would too. So that's pretty smart.
now, according to my picture up there, now can you see how you could wear a pair of nitrile gloves under the
Wait, is
chainmail?
that what kind of a glove is that?
It's a butcher's glove. It's cut resistant and stab proof.
Why does it look like a real hand?
It's got a real hand in it.
Oh, so it's like a thin glove?
It's yes, it's super fine chainmail, and
Oh,
you can wear nitrile gloves underneath them. It's for
gotcha.
cutting. They're for cutting meat. They're butcher gloves. They're stab proof too. They're stab and cut proof. Dad used to put a pair of those on me when I was working the bandsaw.
Oh, he taught you how to make pretty cuts?
Yeah, but you know, Dad would always use the bandsaw without wearing a pair. Of course, he was a master at it, but he didn't trust me not cutting my fingers off. So
Yeah, I don't blame you. I don't trust me not cutting my fingers off when I'm a grown
so
ass adult.
now if you're in the mind frame of somebody that plans on going in a house and stabbing people to death, and you have a criminal um, justice background and a criminology background, and you knew about these gloves, would you not wear a pair?
I would. I mean,
I,
if I was,
you damn right I would.
absolutely.
I mean,
I,
you
why
know,
wouldn't you be stupid not to?
yeah. I
What do you wait?
mean,
So wait, what do you guys think about the blood on the banister or something, or on the railing? I don't know enough about it to really say, but the reason I labeled this, what did I write? Wait, case dismissed. Brian may go free is because when I opened up my YouTube to make a live stream of like the four um thumbnails that I saw, all four of them had something of that sense on it. Like Nancy Grace. Wait, I'll tell you right now. I'll look on my phone. But I was like, wait, what the fuck's going on? Nancy Grace. Kohberger gets away with murder. Okay, that's what she has on hers. And then we have, who else? Somebody else says, oh gosh, there were so many of them. Bryan Kohberger, Bill Thompson, Malicious. There was a bunch of them. Anyway, they're talking about a lot of stuff here, but everybody's saying like, oh, case dismissed. That's the one I was looking for. Case dismissed. So that was another one to the point. I don't know who that is. But again, so they were like all the things that I saw when I hung up from 12 gauges thing. And I was like, what is happening? So wait, why do people think it's going to be dismissed? Because if they get rid of
they think if they get rid of the IgG, the rest of the evidence has to go with it because it's fruit of the poisonous tree, and it's just not so. Bryan Kohberger does not. He does not have a right to the Fourth Amendment over somebody else's damn DNA. He left his DNA at a crime scene. They did an STR.
So wait, you guys,
they got an SMP off of it, and they loaded it onto the genealogy web bank, and came up with the Kohberger family, which they already had his name, and they go, ooh, 1 and 1 equals 2. So they went and searched the trash. They pulled some more DNA out of the trash at his parents' house. Ended up getting his dad's DNA. So they run that STR against the knife sheath, and it came up a paternal match. Well, this man only has one son.
No, exactly. No, right. I get that, but they're saying that what came first, that or the car? Because if it was that first, then they're saying fruit of the poisonous tree. But my thing is, how could that be?
It's still not fruit of the poisonous tree.
Two totally different leads. It's just one verified.
He might have a reason to bitch about it if it was his DNA loaded up on that database.
So that's what I was just about to say to you guys. Maybe it's a good thing that I have like mine in the database, because maybe that would be a violation of my Fourth Amendment rights if they found mine there. But I do agree with you that and what's
there's a difference between a database terms of service and something being criminally illegal.
I was just getting my glasses so that I could read that.
So they can't do that. They're not going to be able to throw that IgG out.
I agree with you. And
even if they did succeed with this, you don't think the FBI is trying to find out more ways to nail this bastard to the wall? They do not want this dude walking.
No, but my thing is, I don't think anybody's like framing him. Like nobody, like who is he that people think that he's?
They'll end up trying to re-indict this dude ASAP if he walks. They'll try to re-indict him before they ever let him out. Wait,
Tom said we don't know which railing it was on. If it was the one going up to the third floor, Anne would have said so. I agree with that. Don't you think she would have been barking that out like real loud if it was the one going upstairs?
Yeah, well,
so I think she would out the front door. So I agree with you, Tom.
And the house was so old. Where was the blood located? How long had it been there?
Exactly. Not enough.
There's a lot of questions. And then the glove outside.
Okay, this is the only thing though, Tom. Listen, wait. Tom says, and Tom, I have a question. So Tom says, oh, I don't even know where it went, but I was going to put Sirius up next. Oh, Tom says, not enough. If it was fresh, it had to have been. But my thing is, didn't we get the DNA? Isn't the reason that they're bitching is because it was such a small snip of DNA? So wouldn't you say that if they found, like if they know that there's blood evidence, that would be enough for it to get at least a snip thing like they did? Like, I guess my thing is, why didn't they just do genetic genealogy on it like they did with the other one? What do you guys think?
Well, see, they could probably do, if it's old blood, they could do a mitochondrial DNA.
Okay. But wouldn't it still have DNA?
Sometimes it gets so degraded. One of those DNA profiles, well, they didn't get a DNA profile. They got a sample and it was so degraded they could only get a gender off of it. They could only tell what gender.
Okay, well, what if they got a gender off of it and it was a female? I'm not saying that a female couldn't have done this, but I'm just saying that would at least make people that are speculate.
The glove outside was found 2 weeks later.
So Tom just said small samples. Tom, that's what I'm saying, right? So I guess my thing is, wouldn't they have done that? Like, why didn't they do that with this DNA, or did Anne's team find the DNA and maybe the prosecutor's team never found it or whatever? Like, what do you guys think? Like, in other words, why wouldn't they have done a DNA on that? And if it's because it was too small, then how did they see it? Because my thing is, even if it was small enough to be seen or collected, wouldn't that still, didn't they have like the tiniest of DNA to get the SNP profile? So you would think that they would be able to do the same thing. So that leads me to believe that maybe it was Anne's investigators that found it and not the prosecutors. I could be dead wrong. What do you guys think about that? Because don't you think the prosecutors, if there was blood on a rail they found, tested it?
Well, yeah, but it depends on how degraded it was and if they could test it. They might have tested that and ran it through CODIS and it didn't come back to nothing either. But then again,
right, but
we don't know.
But why not do?
We don't know. What if it was?
Why not do that same thing on it though, like the genetic genealogy on it, so that you could say?
Ethan's friend came in there, and more than likely they touched blood. And then when they went downstairs to open the door for cops, there could have been blood transfer that way.
You're right. I agree with you.
They have blood on their hands, or their friends. They've just,
So I agree with that, but I guess my thing is that now, because like I would have rather them had gotten a DNA profile on that and said that it was Ethan's best or Ethan's or whatever, and and then explained it that way, than have now a unknown male or whatever. Didn't they even say it was an unknown male? So maybe they did have to do something on it. So was it just that small?
Unknown just simply means that they weren't in CODIS.
But didn't she say male? There were three, unknown male.
Yeah.
So they did do DNA testing on them. But then
again, the thing about it is, if it's Ethan's blood, he wouldn't be in CODIS. He'd never committed a felony. So that would be unknown male DNA. Oh, they all said it wasn't eligible for CODIS.
Tom says that. Oh, it was. Wait, so how are you eligible for CODIS? I'm kind of confused. I'm literally not being, I know the psychology stuff. I don't know this part. So I wonder, what does that mean? How do you become eligible for that? Do you know what I mean? I don't know. I guess my thing is I wish they would have just done what they could have. I know Tom says that it was $10,000 for a profile, but aren't they already up to $1 million or something with Anne, and all that, as far as how much this has cost? So I feel like at this rate, another $10,000, I know $10,000 is a ton of money. That's life-changing for me, believe it or not. But
this case has costed them $4.5 million so far.
So I guess my
drop on the bucket.
Yes, exactly. So to me, I would have rather they just went ahead and gotten whatever they could. And maybe they did. Maybe that's the part I'm missing. So if somebody knows. So wait, you have to have 20 markers, Tom says. So maybe they didn't have 20 markers. Oh, they didn't.
He says it depends on what condition it is too, because it can be so degraded they can't get anything from it except for a gender.
Which then that makes sense, because then that makes it easier for a defense team to say, well, how do you know that wasn't somebody else? And here, True said, it could have been one of the friends that went in and found them type thing and brought it back with them by accident. Ugh.
Because if I found my friend, I'd probably have blood on my hands and run down and hold the rail as I'm jumping down the steps to answer the door.
Yeah, right. PKC says, Texas, I have no idea. One time, wait, Dr. Van, I need to teach you how to use AI to search. Oh, I could probably figure it. Yeah, you should. Why don't you teach me? I'm being dead serious too. I'm not even being sarcastic, because after I just thought about that out loud, you're probably right. That would probably be an amazing idea and could probably help me a lot, because I do research the old-fashioned way. I guess I would also be afraid that if I got the right stuff, but I could always fact check it before I brought it. So thank you. That's actually a really good idea, Tom. Just so you guys know, my nickname is Straight A Stupid. Okay. Oh, you have 3 AI assists. Tom, I swear to God, if you tell me one of them is your therapist, I'm going to find you, because my students the other day told me, okay, that they pay for the $20 AI thing, like the ChatGPT, but the $20 one. And because they have it personalized, and they ask, like they have one where it's like a therapist to them. I'm like, you guys, like, what the fuck? So Tom, I hope one of
Hey,
your
that
3
can't be
AI
a
assists
bad
isn't a
thing for some
therapist.
people. You know, if
Yes, it
Kohberger
can.
would have had
What if
if Kohberger would have had an AI friend, an imaginary AI friend, he might not have went and did this.
guess what? That's a good point. Boom. But it for therapy. So I think there's a difference between having like an AI friend. If somebody, you're right, somebody should have taught Koberger, because I think he was a very analytical, or is a very analytical thinker like I am. And sometimes, so what I was going to tell you guys, my nickname is Straight A Stupid. So I graduated with honors from my doctorate degree, my master's degree, my bachelor's degree, but it never occurred to me to go to AI to ask AI. Like, that just wasn't, so like, duh, you know what I mean? You think I would have thought of that, but I didn't. So I'm Straight A Stupid over here. That's my nickname. Serious, that's true. We had to take early classes and all that. Wait, what were we talking about? Oh, and
Oh, Texas was talking about how we'd have to probably go back to college to learn how to use AI. I thought I was going to have to go back to college to learn how to use my new cell phone.
so wait, PKC, somebody, so I thought that they said that nobody checked for a pulse. I thought that was, or whoever said about the pulse, I thought they said afterwards that that was like um misinformation, but again, I could be
Well,
wrong.
PKC, what she's reading from is the police when they got there. The doors were already open. The
No, I
doors were
meant about the
closed
other
before
thing,
they
the
got there. No, I was talking.
no,
I
how
was
they
talking
said
to
that the
PKC.
friend, I see, but what about the thing where the friend checked for the pulse? Was that, does anybody know if that, if they said that that was like a rumor, if that was real?
I have no idea.
So Texas says, PKC, I think that she meant unlocked but not open. However, Texas, let me tell you something. I think
Words
that
matter in
she was,
court.
yes, and I think she was being very, 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 very what's the word, intentional in her wording. So I think that, in my opinion, the doors were probably shut and the friends probably opened them to get to their friends, which is how they knew that it was a bad scene and that they needed to call the police, right? So my thing is, she could technically be telling the truth by saying that the doors were open when the police got there. That might not be a lie, but that doesn't mean that they weren't closed before the friends got there. So I think that was a really good point that Texas brought up, because it reminded me that they're very intentional in the way that they word things so that they're technically true. I was just teaching my students, like, always be critical thinkers about this stuff, because for example, at Rowan, where I went to school, they say that their student to teacher ratio is 1 to 8. And I'm like, that's weird, because I taught there for 10 years and I always had like 30 something students in my class. Like, I'm like, where did they get that from? Isn't that false advertisement? And then I started to think critically, and I'm like, they're a state school. They wouldn't do, like, they wouldn't take the chances of getting sued for false advertisement. Like, there has to be something that they're saying 1 out of 8. And like, it has to be true in some sense. I have to figure it out. And I figured it out, you guys. They added the graduate school, the doctorate schools. So in our doctorate class, 40 of us started. And I remember thinking, oh my God, you're so not special, because there was like 40 of us that got in, but 3 of us are graduating. So, or we 3 of us graduated, but we didn't walk yet. So we graduated in August, and we walk in May. So I have my degree. I show it in the beginning of the video, but I don't walk until May. But anyway, so only 3 of us graduated. So when you think about it, that now, like, our teacher to student ratio in some of our classes where you have your dissertation classes, it's a 1-on-1 ratio. So if you add that in with the other and you go to get an average, it winds up being 1 and 8. I did the math. So they're not lying. but they're also not being completely honest. Not that they're not being honest. I would say to them, okay, well, what's your ratio for your bachelor's program? And then that would then be a whole different answer. And I think that same thing over here with Anne, she's doing stuff like that to where it's technically true. The doors might have been open when the cops got there, but it might not, it might have nothing to do with the fact that the killer left the doors open. It could be the fact that the friends went in.
You got to look at it this way. When the cops got there too, unless one of the friends physically removed Murphy and took him outside, when the cops came in to clear that house and get everybody out of it because it's a crime scene, CSI would have worked in that house until they got to that particular room Murphy was in. Then they would have removed him.
Why do you guys think
because the dog would have been Murphy's the dog, because
right, would have been covered in blood, right?
Well, it would disturb the crime scene.
But do you guys see what Texas is saying?
Like, that dog.
If he could have gotten, but do you think that if he could have gotten to Kaylee that he would have?
Oh yeah,
I feel like my dog would have.
I believe that 100% that he would have been covered. But
Hunter said he didn't.
What I'm saying is,
that's smart.
I'm saying is when the cops came in there, you know, if the dog was behind the closed door, they cleared that room and made sure nobody was in it, and then they closed the dog back up in that room.
I see. So, but they're trying to say that the door was open and that the dog was just in the room. I don't know. What is Anne trying to get at that? That like somebody's lying and that they took the dog? Like what's her point of bringing that up?
Unless the cops physically removed the dog and gave the dog to Jack once he got there.
Maybe, but my thing is, why is she bringing that up in court? Like, what is she?
It's to sway public opinion.
About what though? Like, what is she trying to, like, what conjecture is she trying to put out? She's trying to debunk Dylan's story. Thank you, Tom. That's what Tom's like, let me help you, bitch. Thank you, Tom. That's exactly what that's the answer to what I was trying to say. So thank you. So she's trying to debunk Dylan's story. I guess just to point it at anybody, whether it's Dylan, her boyfriend, or like anyone but Bryan, right?
Right.
This is like, it's crazy. So one of the other things that I wrote here is that when you examine the evidence, does anything favor Kohberger? So I put, to be fair, there are elements of the case that defense attorneys will focus on. So some of the strongest arguments made for his innocence, in my opinion, are there's no direct eyewitness that can identify him other than the bushy eyebrows. So I know that she can identify him. However, do you guys remember Anne said in court that when she was given a picture, she couldn't pick him out of or she wasn't able to identify him when the police showed her a picture?
Yeah, but her testimony is not really going to be that to identify him. It's going to be to solidify the timeline.
And just so you guys know, like Anne, when she said the thing about how Dylan's wrong, you're right, Tom. That's exactly what she's trying to do. She's trying to say that Dylan's story is debunk Dylan's story. And you're right, because she also said that Dylan can't be true because somebody ran up the steps or something, or down the steps, and she's down the steps, and that wouldn't have been able to happen because her friends were found, deceased upstairs. So my thing is, couldn't that have been Xana, like hearing something and going to see what's happening? Or could it have been the opposite way, and Xana and them were first, and Kaylee and them ran down to see what was happening and then ran back upstairs?
They would have had time to scream. That's your answer.
Okay, what about if it was Xana running?
You know what I think?
And then saying, I think somebody's here.
You know what I think? Okay, I live in a house that's upstairs and downstairs. If I'm downstairs and I hear one of my dogs come downstairs, I can tell the difference between my 80-pound dog and my 40-pound dog.
I can too.
Kaylee was heavy, Patty. So the sound she heard of somebody coming down the stairs could have very well been Bryan, and she thought it was Kaylee.
Gotcha. I didn't even think about that. You're right. Wait, why couldn't Xana be first? Could it, Tom, my thing is, I know that they heard her crying after, but could it have been that like he thought that she was gone and that it didn't all the way, and then he said, don't worry, I'm here to help you, and then he takes her out?
Well, which bathroom did she hear the crying coming from? Was it the upstairs bathroom or was it the downstairs bathroom? That makes a difference, because it could have been Murphy whining at the door.
Yeah, but I feel like if you live with somebody, you kind of get to know like your friends' voices.
Yeah, but
I
she
don't
was
know.
really drunk.
That is true.
You
That
know,
is true.
how
I
drunk makes a
also think
difference.
that she ran into Zana coming back down the steps. She sent a TikTok to a friend at 4:12. Guess what, Tom? You're right. Bingo. Tom gets bingo. He wins. Tom, if I had a prize, you would win. I give candy out in class, so you would have gotten a candy for that. You're absolutely right. She sent a text, physically sent like a TikTok at 4:12, so not one that was just running in the background like she responded to somebody or posted something. So he's absolutely right. So that was at
Yeah,
4:12.
and she posted something really personal. Jeff brought this up, and it was like, don't forget the
Did we ever
foundation in the
find out?
bathtub.
Yes. Did we ever find out? Like, I think that was just something funny that happened with her and her friend.
Yeah, they
Like,
were
me and my
playing
best friend would have said something.
a no hands makeup challenge, and they got makeup all over the bathroom when they were little.
I see. That's exactly what I thought it was going to be. I was going to say there's people that'll probably make stories about that too. Like, she was trying to give some kind of, I don't know, signal. I'm like, they'll say anything. Does anybody ever watch Gray Hughes?
Yeah,
He,
he did a pretty good little rundown of that
okay,
car,
he's
didn't he?
really good. He does a real good job. But did you guys like, have you guys ever heard him? It is so friggin' funny that Jeff and I are good friends. Oh, we like Jeff. Why don't you text him and tell him to come hang out? He's usually here. I don't know where he's at. But what
Yeah,
was I
you need to
saying
get
right
Jeff
before that?
and get him to come up on panel.
We didn't
He's
we do
fun to
need to
bounce
get.
off of.
What were we just talking about right before that though? Oh, about the friend and
Yeah,
the thing being
makeup
innocent.
challenge.
People were already like trying to make like I remember when that first came out, people were trying to make like a conspiracy out of that too. Like was she given like a signal? Like I'm like, no. They're friends when they were little. Like that was probably just something that happened that was goofy or whatever. So that's good to know. Oh, truth is growing. Truth, you're growing on Tom.
I'm not that
Yeah,
bad of a
that's funny.
person. I don't like people who lie and spread misinformation. That's
Yes.
all.
Well, with Gray, I think Gray's funny. However, not
He's a bit
however.
monotone. He's a bit monotone, and he's a bit rude to his subs too.
So that's the thing when he'll be like when somebody comes on, you guys, I was dying laughing. I don't think I'd have the balls to do that. He'll dead be like, you're a dumbass. Like he'd be like, Tom, you're like not Tom. Like I should have used a different name, Mike or whatever. Like Mike, you're just a
Truth,
dumbass.
you can
Mike,
use
get out of
truth.
here. Gray and get a clue. We're very rude. Oh my god, I can't believe how rude. I couldn't believe it. I was like, oh my god, I can't believe he's saying that. Like he dead told somebody, he's like, get a life, dude. He's like, you are so stupid. I was like, oh my god, who calls people stupid? So like I don't think that the people that think that he's innocent, like in my opinion, I don't think they're stupid. I
He almost got
think
his phone slapped all the way across that parking lot. I saw that video. It was hilarious.
wait, what happened?
Gray Hughes went investigating his ass around 1122 King Road
Hmm.
and about got his ass handed to him by a resident.
Really?
Yeah, that camera that's back behind that apartment building in that little cut. Yeah.
Oh, you'll have to
He
send
was,
me that. I'll have to say
oh
it.
my goodness. I don't even know if he has it posted anymore. But yeah, he was like, the camera's right here. And I mean, he was no further than like a foot away from it. And dude opens the door like, what the fuck are you doing? But
That's
he
so
didn't say that.
funny.
He didn't say the F word, but
Sirius says that Gray was her first channel. She became a member. I subscribed to him. I think it's funny as hell. But I just can't believe that he'll straight tell
I
people,
got blocked in Gray's channel.
oh gosh, you got blocked in everybody's channel.
You know why?
Why?
I'll tell you real quick. I'm from Birmingham. And when the Carly Russell case happened, he spent like $230 to get the cam footage. And it was over 459 where you get on 459
What do you mean?
from 31 highway. And the way the camera is pointed, it's pointed west. Okay. This dude is looking down eastbound. He was looking down eastbound lanes towards Atlanta instead of west towards Tuscaloosa. And the camera that he got You can't even see anybody pull over on the side of the road where she said that they pulled over on the side of the road, because that's like a mile and a half down the road. And he was sitting
So
there
you
looking
don't think
for.
he did good work?
So I
I think
told him
he's
this in
usually on point,
chat.
no?
I told him this in chat. I'm like, you're looking down eastbound. You've been looking down eastbound lanes, and I've been trying to tell you for the last 45 minutes. And I said, you need to be looking down westbound lanes. And since the Galleria is on your left in this cam shot, you where she got, where she says she got kidnapped or whatever, was that mile marker is about 2 miles down the road from this camera. You'll never see it.
Gotcha.
And he
So you
swore.
got into a fight with him.
No, I didn't get in a fight with him. I got blocked by one of his mods because they thought I was trolling him, and I wasn't. I mean, I'm like, I used to drive that way to work every day. He's
Well,
looking down the
because
eastbound
when
lanes
he
instead
thinks
of the
somebody's
westbound
trolling
lanes.
him,
And even if he looked down the westbound lanes, he wouldn't be able to see anything.
well, when he thinks somebody's trolling him, he goes for them and has no.
Oh yeah, it
Like,
was awful. But
I was
I
like, oh
just
my
laughed. I
god.
just laughed and went on. I was like, gosh, every time you try to, you know,
I do. I would too.
correct somebody's
However,
wrong, they want to block you.
but this is the thing. So I guess my thing is that if anybody ever comes in here and they're for Kohberger, like a couple people left like a nasty comment. Like I'll get a nasty comment every here and there from like when I do a live with Dr. Schultz and whatever. I don't really care. But the one comment was something like it said something like, so you met Kohberger how many times? And I wrote back 0. How many times did you meet him? Like, do you know what I mean? Like, why are you allowed?
Right.
That's my thing. Like, why are people allowed to make conjecture that he's innocent, but other people aren't allowed to believe that he's not? I don't get it. Does that make sense? Like, I feel like when people are like going
Oh,
after us or
how did he
whatever.
go in there and just leave no DNA? And you're sitting there going, well, some damn body did.
Exactly. Exactly. How did one person do that? Well, how did
I
Brian do
don't
this? Well,
reckon a
someone did it.
ghost did it.
No, you're right. But I think that one of the things that they say is that there's no direct eyewitness other than the Dylan with the eyebrows. No murder weapon found. So I think that that does, in the eyes of a jury, could be hurtful or whatever. Cell phone was off during the murders. So there's no GPS proof that places him inside the house. However, we all know, and again, I'm trying to play devil's advocate as to why somebody would think that he's innocent. And the last one I have is only one DNA sample on the kitchen knife. I mean, I said on the kitchen, I meant on the knife sheath. Some argue that DNA could have been transferred there accidentally, but do these create a reasonable doubt? So let's compare them to the overwhelming evidence against him. And then my next section, I go into evidence that that shows that that while the defense may poke holes in parts of the case, the full picture matters. And then I break it down and I do the DNA on the knife sheath. So that was found on the button snap. So someone had to press it to open it or like press on it. The surveillance footage of his white Hyundai Elantra, even though you don't really see him in it, it's still a car. And I think that the front license plate is going to hurt him, not help him, because I have a car out front. I have a few of them, and like my husband and stuff. And none of us have a front license plate because we don't have them in Pennsylvania. However, in New Jersey, where I work, you do have to have a front license plate. But also in New Jersey, you're not allowed to have tinted windows in the front. But in PA, you can. So I have straight, like, tinted windows and only one license plate. So to me, that points to guilt in my eyes because he's from Pennsylvania and he didn't get his registration renewed there until after the crime occurred. And I think he probably did that hoping that they would see it and be like, oh no, he has like a license plate in the front and the back. This person only had one in the back. Like, do you know what I mean? Like, so to me, there was a complete explanation for why there wasn't one, why there was only one license plate. And that's because we only need one in Pennsylvania. So that's why. And then cell phone tower pings and stalking patterns. So again, he was in the neighborhood at least 12 times. However, I did learn a little bit on 12 gauge too. And not just 12 gauge, even other places that you can you don't necessarily have to be right there. So that he didn't, that the phone evidence can't necessarily place you at the crime scene. But my thing is, if you're, I don't know, if it walks like a duck and quacks like a duck, it's a fucking duck, y'all. That's just how I feel. And then his behavior after the murder. So he deep cleaned his car. Okay. He traveled the country. So he went back to where he's from and he changed his license plate. So they were all things that he did after the crime. I went back and watched what people said. Oh, who was talking? Who text was talking smack? Oh, what did I miss? Oh, a lot of people talk shit about Jeff, don't they? Didn't we talk about this the one time? Oh,
they
yeah,
used to
Tommy.
give bail.
But I think, didn't Tommy just have a heart attack or something not long ago? I think he was on tonight. Or I could be wrong. I could have just saw that. But anyway, then after that,
Oh no, he
I
was
put,
talking about Tommy G or somebody.
yes. Oh, I see. So the next segment I go into was, gotcha, you got it. I see what you're saying. And then the ultimate projection. So when accusations become hypocrisy. So I go into, let's talk about something that happens far too often, projection. So we talked about this. This was one of the things that like inspired me to do this video, is because one of the things we talked about on Monday night was the defense mechanisms, and one of them is projection. And we all project. I even project, and I know better. So I've been teaching this for 20 years, and I still do it. Like we all do it, right? So projection is just when you put your shit, you see your shit in somebody else, pretty much. So you're at your best friend's maid of honor, and you're like, "Are you sure you want to do this? Like my divorce was so much money." That's projection. It's like, bitch, just because your shit ended in a divorce doesn't mean this bitch ain't gonna live happily ever after. You know what I mean? So that's projection. And we do it all the time. So I think that that people are projecting. Some YouTubers and internet sleuths attack others for biases and misinformation, but they do the same thing. That annoys the fuck out of me. So while some of them were talking shit about us prober, or wait, what are we? We're the
guilters. We're the
guilters.
guilters.
Sorry,
They're the
we're the guilters.
pro-burgers.
Yes, I got it wrong. I got it wrong. So we're the
guilters.
I
used to say pro-prosecution or pro-defense.
Yes, that's what I used to say too. But somebody put a name on everybody. So, and again, do you guys see how by putting a name on it, that makes it easier to tribalize? So it's like us versus them. And then once you put a name on it, now you really have an us versus them. It's pro-burgers versus guilters. Like, that's just ridiculous. Like, what about truthers? You know, like, I just want to know the truth. And if we found out tomorrow that there was some crazy alibi for Bryan, I would be able to be like, oh yeah, damn, that clears him. But there's not. Like, I haven't seen anything, and I haven't seen any educated human being out there. I can't find.
Driving around alibi just doesn't fly with me. I'm sorry.
No, and naming lowers and rises your status based on echo chamber group. You're actually, so that was my question was, do you pro burger versus cold burger? I'm a pro cold burger. So I guess Jack, I think that's what everybody should be, is a pro cold burger. So I guess what you're saying is that, in other words, you're somewhere in the middle. Like, you just want to go where the evidence takes you. So my thing is that as of right now, even though we don't have all of the evidence, because the prosecution hasn't showed us all their cards yet, right? And even when they do go to trial,
they're not allowed to.
Well, this is the thing. So even when you trial,
that's why I'm saying with Ann Taylor bringing up all this, she chooses her words very carefully.
She's smart when she uses her words. You're right.
Yeah, I think she's trying to sway the public opinion, knowing that the prosecution can't correct her right now because they're under gag order.
I hear you, and you're absolutely right. But she's giving enough for the people out there that are pro burgers to take and run with, and then feed to the people that are just watching them, which is horrible, because this is how misinformation and disinformation, it's literally what my whole dissertation's on, is about misinformation in social media and how it affects identity development in 18 to 24-year-olds. So I don't know. So I am an expert on that particular topic, and I think that so you guys told me about that Viviana, and I started to like watch her videos. I was like that she holds people accountable, because it's not
Isn't she
easy to do that.
fabulous? I love
She is.
her.
And well, I like her. What
I
I like
wish I
about
had
her
that much
too.
tact and intelligence to tell people off in a nice way.
Right, but that's what I like about her, is that she doesn't just tell people off. She gives facts. And every
Right.
now and then she'll like put something shady in there, but you should, you know what I mean? And people will clap back at her, so she should.
She
Like that's
does.
fine.
She brings every bit of the receipts.
And I love that yeah,
And
she brings the receipts.
she has handed Jay Emery and Harsh their ass. She handed Lana her ass. She's I
Oh,
don't
I
believe
didn't
there's
see
an
that one.
ass
I have to
she
see
hadn't
that.
handed to somebody yet. I'm serious. When it comes to the pro burgers, oh
Well, so
yeah.
her and Gray Hughes should do like a panel together. Could you imagine? Oh my God, that would be crazy. Her and Gray Hughes together on a panel. But no, but again, I think that it's good though, because they're both showing that from what we know as of right now. So
I
this is
want to
the
see
thing.
Tiana debate Lana.
That would be great. I would love to see that. I would love to see that. That would be great. I think Lana or whatever offered to do, oh my God, what was it? She like not offered, she like not called someone out, but was like, said like,
Yeah,
we should do like a,
Pavarotti. She said she would debate Pavarotti, but Pavarotti don't have an he does not
no,
have
I
the
think there was
testicle
somebody else
fortitude.
that was like big. It was like somebody else that was big that was on the other side. I have to go back and try to find it if anybody,
She doesn't
against
care
Viv, you think, Tom?
for what Howard Bloom has done.
I
She
don't know.
doesn't
This is the thing, Tom. Oh, maybe that was it. Maybe it was like Howard Bloom or like Megan Kelly. It was somebody big. Who was it?
Yeah,
Chris McDonough. It was Chris McDonough. She wanted to do, she wants to debate Chris McDonough.
I think she'd win that one.
Guess what? Again, just like Anne, Lana, if you ever hear this, I also agree with that. I think she might win that one, only because Lana is very good at, like, Lana would be a very good defense attorney type thing. Like, I feel like her, like Anne is like her spirit animal. You know
No,
what I mean?
I believe Lana. Look, Lana went to court over a protective order, and she was so scatterbrained in court. The magistrate got caught on a hot mic saying that she was scatterbrained.
I watched that trial thing with her. So Lana got all the receipts. I agree with that. This is the thing though. So I agree with that totally. And what I like about Lana is that she has receipts for the things that she's talking about. I just don't always know. Like every now and
She
then I'll
doesn't
hear her.
understand what she's talking about, though. That's the point.
No,
She
see,
really
this is the thing.
doesn't.
I
She doesn't
disagree.
understand any of it.
I think she understands what she's talking about. Where I think that I disagree with Lana is that I think that she knows, because didn't she do this with Chris Watts and stuff too? I'm not sure because I haven't been on that long, but from what I heard, she makes mistakes. I hear you, Tom. But yes, but they're intentional, Tom. That's what I'm trying to say to you in truth. Like, I think she knows better. Like, that's what like gets me. So like with Lana, like the times that she makes mistakes, in my opinion, I feel like when I'm watching it, I'm like, come on, Lana, like, that that's not, you know what I mean? Or am I wrong? Do you guys really think that she doesn't, like, that she really thinks it? Like, there's sometimes where I'm like, huh? Like the car, the Viviana pointed that out, right? So,
Mhm.
oh,
Jeff
so it's
made a
for
real
hits.
good video. Jeff made a real good video about the car. It's just like a TikTok
So
video.
good. So good. I love that video. You're absolutely right. Where it looks just like it.
It,
Bless you.
it shows all the years from like 2011 to 2016, and they all look the same almost.
And that's another thing. So that's another example of how Anne or somebody that's really good. Like I put Lana in a different category than like Pavarotti and them. Like I think Pavarotti and stuff, like I think he's like just grasping for a straw. I don't know. I feel like he really believes his like thoughts. Does anybody else agree with that? Like I think like he genuinely like, but I think he needs to watch. But like I'm actually scared for his life a little bit. Like he like calls out groups and stuff. I'm like, oh my God. Yes, I hear you, serious. I hear you, serious. I hear you. I hear you. I get you guys. I guess this is the thing. This is why I like this, my little group here. Like, if I ever get, bigger, great. And if I don't, that's fine too, because I I don't have the time to watch everybody's channels all the time. So I do like rely on a few people that I have learned to trust. Like the people like here that show up all the fucking time. Like if you guys tell me something, I would believe it probably. But and again, that could be um to my bad too, right? Because somebody might not be telling me the truth on purpose and I might just be like, oh yeah, well, so that's not always a good trait to have either. But I feel like the little group of friends here that we have, I feel like if you guys tell me like, no, watch out, like how you guys told me to go watch Viviana, I definitely was into it. So I feel like we have the same interests. I'm scared for a lot of these people he has involved in this case. Yes. Yes. And no, PKC, what about the people that are in jail when they get out?
And even speculating that some of these people are confidential informants when he knows good and well they're still out here doing drugs. Like one of
No,
those
but what about the
parents.
ones that are in jail and then they do get out? Like, I don't know. Maybe he's just not afraid.
I mean, that can put somebody in danger claiming that, oh, you're just so sure that they're a CI. Man, that can get somebody hurt or
And the thing
killed.
is that he did make a lot of connections, but I don't know that those connections were real or where he got them from. So, like, he connects the dots, but I don't know that he has, like, the right information that he's connecting. So, like, I feel like you're saying, like, there's people that could believe it. And yes, PKC, there's people out there that Viviana debunked.
Oh, I know.
Oh,
I know
good.
Viv debunked all that stuff.
See,
But
I have to, I'm
compared to
still
how many
watching.
people saw Pav's video compared to the ones that saw Viviana
Oh
correct
my
all
God,
that stuff,
implying the victims' mothers are mules? That's
yeah,
terrible.
drug mules and everything else.
Oh, I don't like that.
Yeah, he's rotten. He is rotten
I
to
don't
the
like
core,
that.
and he doesn't give
There's
two
a lot of
shits
people that are
as long as it
addicted, and
gets
that
him the
doesn't mean
view.
that they're kids.
The
And that's
crazier the
another thing.
conspiracy, the bigger the view count.
I guess that's my point of this video is that I'm starting to realize that when it comes to like hypocrisy and stuff, or that when it comes to the stuff that it has to be for that reason because there's so much hypocrisy. It can't be for any other reason. So I keep trying to go back and forth. Like, do these people believe what they're saying? Like, because I try to give everybody the benefit of the doubt. That's my worst and best quality, just so everybody knows. My husband will tell you that he hates that I always play devil's advocate. Sometimes he just wants me to be like, you're right, Rye. Fuck you to that person or whatever. And I'll be like, Rye, no. Do you really think that person like left the house today and was like, how can I fuck over Ryan? Like, come on. And but like sometimes he just wants me to be like, yeah, they're a fucking jerk off. And I'm sure that all the men in here can totally empathize with that. I'm sure you but I guess maybe it's because of my psychology background. I try to like put myself in other people's shoes to see why they might do something, whether it's good or bad, right? So it's like a good quality and a bad quality. So I tried to put myself in everybody's shoes. And I'm like, okay, so what if they really do believe that he's innocent? Like, why are they so hell bent on this? All I could think of is that somewhere at some point they were vulnerable enough. I don't know. How do I say it? Because we've all been vulnerable at some point. I'm just saying, I hope nobody's preying on somebody else's vulnerability then and then gets them hooked into something that that person winds up believing in. And then, like you said, could get hurt as a result. Like, because that would just be fucked up. That's all. Yes, if he steps on the wrong tail, that could be bad. Exactly. And when you don't fact check, you will never know. You're right. Tom, you're very smart. Look at you. And Texas and PKC, you're all very smart. And Truth, sorry, Truth, meanwhile, you're like here with me and I'm giving everybody else the compliments over here. Truth's amazing.
Look at the back chat, the private chat, StreamYard
Oh, no.
private chat.
Oh, okay. I saw that.
Yeah.
I did see that. We're just talking again about how it was more about a hypocrisy about one of the creators, and I didn't want to bring a lot like a bad creator. I said a lot of, not Lana. I said a lot.
There's a reason why he works that drug angle the way he does, though. Because it's always about it had to be a drug hit. It had to be a drug hit, and he's blamed everybody.
Wait, what does this mean? What does that mean? And did you call me Miss Vona? That makes me sound like I'm fucking 80. You could call me Jamie. Jamie's good.
Jamie.
Miss Vona.
Miss
I'm actually
Vona.
I'm used to Professor Vona more than Dr. Vona, but Jamie is what I'm most used to. So
Well, I
Jamie is
always
good
put the
enough.
doctor in front of it because I feel like you earned it.
I did earn it, but I also want to earn your friendship, all of you. So I don't ever want anybody to feel like like that I
Whoa.
think that I'm smarter than
Hang
anybody
on.
else
There's
because I
boogers
don't.
in the neighborhood.
Oh, went to Harvard. See, again, Tom, straight A stupid. There you go. Um, that's funny. Thank you, Tom. Thank you, thank you. Okay. Yeah, we don't have to do Miss Vone or Dr. Vone or anything like that. I'm just a normal person. So one of the things, you guys, that I found was that if your goal is truth, you should scrutinize your own claims as you do others. Otherwise, you're not searching for justice, you're just feeding the noise. That's what I wrote. I write some of my best stuff in the middle of the night, you guys. Like, I'll wake up in the middle of the night and think something and just write it down. And that was one of the things. And I know that it was in the middle of the night because it's handwritten and it's all sloppy. So, again, if your goal is truth, you should scrutinize your own claims as you do others. Otherwise, you're not searching for justice, you're just feeding the noise. And that's exactly how I feel about that. Okay. I don't know if anybody else feels that way. Um, but again, I would challenge all of you in your own life to see if you do this. So if you don't um, if you don't like something about somebody, see if you do what it is that you don't like about them. So if somebody's getting on your nerves, see what it is that they're doing that's getting on your nerves, and then really reflect and ask yourself, do I do that too? And the answer might be no, but much of the time the answer will be yes. And if the answer is yes, that's projection. This just happened to me just yesterday or whatever. My daughter said that her hair's falling out. I think she's just being dramatic or whatever. And she's like, it's because I'm not eating good enough fruits and vegetables and I'm eating fast food 4 times a week or whatever. She's like this tiny little thing, right? Well, what I heard as a mom was, you don't feed me, bitch. I have to eat fast food 4 times a week because you're a bad mom and didn't give me dinner. That is not what she said, though. And my husband literally was like, okay, why are we making this about you? Like, she has a car. She's with her friends too. She probably does eat fast food 4 times a week if that's what she said. And I was like, oh my God, he's so right. So that was projection right there. So she said nothing about me. She literally said, I have to stop eating fast food. I eat fast food like 4 times a week. And again, I heard, you're a bad mom, that you should cook better foods for me. And here I have like fruits and vegetables right in front of my face while I'm saying that. So again, that would be projection. That would be my own fear that I'm working too much. I really am a workaholic. It keeps my brain busy. I don't sleep much. If I don't do that, I start to analyze and hyperanalyze like things that I shouldn't be even thinking about, like things that'll like, eat me alive. So instead, I just work and work and work and work and work. Like, these are my next set of notes that I have to type up. So first I write my notes, then I type my notes up. Then when I have enough of a particular topic, I punch. Oh, the guys in here I think will appreciate this. I get a hole puncher and I punch 3 holes into it, and then I get zip ties and I zip tie my notes together. And Bryan Kohberger is my green zip ties. So that's for this case. I think I said the red zip ties were for Stephen Stearns, but I have different colors for every offender. So Bryan Kohberger got the green zip ties. So there you go. But that's how my brain works. So again, we project all the time. That was my way of projecting, even though that's not exactly what I meant to do at the time. So one of the things that I wrote, so just getting through my video thing real quick that I was talking about, is that I don't know that in my video that I should say any true crime names, because again, I don't mean any. It says you're going to the trial too. No, you're right, exactly. But Wait, I don't see the reds or greens. I am screwed. Oh yeah, you're fine. Wait, Tom, I got to get you a color. What color do you like, Tom? What color should I make you? I'll look up your old. I'm just joking. I'm literally joking. Trust me, I am not a saint. So, over here, I don't know what you guys think about this, but I don't dislike any creators. Like, I'm not a mean person. It's just not who I am. I try to look at the humanity in everybody. And again, it's my best and worst quality. So sometimes, people they are who they are, right? There's nothing you can do about it. But I try to like look at the good in people. And I also tell people if you truly dislike somebody, try to find a picture of them as like a little kid. They teach us that in psychology. It's in I think it's in our intro textbook, but it's about looking at people at their as a child. And this is the thing, I was like, meanwhile, what if they were like the bully in school or whatever? But again, I think the point is that when you see a picture of somebody as a young child, it makes it harder for you to dislike the person because you see them as a person. So you see them as like they were a kid too, and kids are like innocent, right? Or we see kids as innocent. So it's like at some point, where in society did this person get hurt, right? Or traumatized in some way that they turned out to offend others or be mean or become bullies or whatever the case may be. So I think it just shows that our environment plays a pretty significant role on how our genetics play out, if you will. So there you go. That's funny. If somebody gets on Texas's nerves, that's just how us Texans do it. You Texans do it right. Let me tell you. I went to Texas not long ago because I got a National Teaching Excellence Award, and my college sent me out to the University of Texas at Austin, and I received a NISOT award. And oh my God, you guys, the food is off the motherfucking hook. However, Texas, why? Why do they just have a bunch of just bread everywhere you go? Like, you guys, when you order, so like if you go, for example, for barbecue, the most delicious thing you've ever seen, the only thing I could think of is obviously it's for dipping the delicious sauce at the end. Obviously, us Italians use Italian bread to do that. But it's the craziest thing. I never seen anything like it. So people would order their meal and then it's like the white bread on the side and it's like it's free. Like you just go by. It's like almost like you're picking up rolls for your pasta. It was the craziest thing. So bread is cheap and makes sandwiches look huge. That too. No, but Tom, did you ever see like Austin is very different? That's so funny. It was all delicious though. I had a lot of fun. But I like little kids were like, I was like, oh my God, like that little kid like grabbing 5 pieces of bread. Oh no. I don't know. I just was like, what's happening? And then I thought about it and I'm like, oh, wait a minute. If that was like at an Italian restaurant and we had a bunch of breadsticks, I wouldn't think anything of it. It's the same fucking thing, just different form, right? So I live by Canada border in Minnesota, away from Texas. That is pretty far away from Texas. My daughter Gianna just got her, or well, she's getting her passport. She's going to Canada. Her and her boyfriend just get up and like do shit. I'm like, oh, I miss being 21 sometimes, just having no responsibilities. She's like, Mom, I need to get my thing done because I'm going to Canada. I was like, oh, that's fabulous. But anyway, back to Bryan Kohberger and people spreading misinformation. Again, I would like to think that people believe in what they're saying. So to them, they're not spreading misinformation. I don't know if there's anybody out there that is spreading misinformation intentionally. Like, again, you guys are saying Pavarotti. I'm going to look into it more. I need to look into other YouTubers more to see what other people are saying out there, because I think that's another issue too, right? You don't want to just hear your own thoughts. And I also don't want to just hear what people that agree with what I have to say. I also want to hear what people that don't agree with me have to say, because they might tell me something that I didn't know before. I fact check it, they're right, and now I change my thought process. I think that's the beauty of being educated and being grown up, right? So if we're all able, and we're all educated in here, we're all able, just meaning that we're all able to take in new information and change existing information in our brain if needed. But my thing is, if nothing comes to change my mind as of today, in my opinion, I think um, there's enough circumstantial evidence, in my opinion, to find him guilty. I also think, in my opinion, that we sometimes, I don't know if you guys agree with this, but I think that shows like Criminal Minds and stuff like that, although they're fabulous for watching, right? I think that it's a pseudoscience, right? So it's not a real science, and that we're not really using the scientific method for that pretend case in that particular time. And what it winds up doing is it puts in the audience mind that we can solve crimes in an episode. And so we can have the crime, we can investigate the crime, and then find the DNA, find the killer, put them to jail, and now justice is served next episode, right? The thing is that doesn't that then set us up for failure in real life? Because that's not how it really is in real life. So in real life, you know, for years we didn't have DNA evidence. We only had circumstantial evidence. So we had to have been able to put people away before with circumstantial evidence. So I guess my thing is that even if we didn't have the DNA evidence here, I have a feeling that there's going to be enough evidence to put him away if he's the person. And again, I don't think we know all the information. One other thing I would say about that is when I was 29, my best friend Mike was murdered, and we grew up together, and he was his parents' only child. So it's like it was heartbreaking on so many levels. So when the trial came, the four kids that killed him, they were 15, 16, 17, and 18. So they were 15, 16, 17, and 18. The 16-year-old and the 18-year-old were brothers. The 15 and 16-year-old were hanging out at the house, like just, I don't know what, they were just doing whatever. And the 18-year-old and his 17-year-old friend come home, and they tell the little brother and his friend, they throw them both guns, and they're like, let's go. We found boys that are eaten, right? So here, that just means we found people that look like they have money. They're going to do a robbery. I'm sure there's been a million times that they've been able, not a million, but there's been plenty of times that they probably did this and nothing bad happened. However, my friend Mike always said, if anybody tries to rob me, they better kill me, because I'm not giving them any of my shit. So, long story short, that's exactly what happened. He didn't give up his shit and he died. So our other friends that were there gave up their shit and they're still alive. He refused to. He tried to run. The one guy shot him in between, like right in the nuts. It is what it is. Shot him in the nuts. He fell to his knees and they then executed him in the back of the head. So, and then they still took his money anyway. So I was like, in my head, I'm like, really? Was that like worth $1,500, right? Or I think it was like seven, whatever he had on him. Long story short, I don't even know why he had that much money. So I don't even know why I even said that out loud. But long story short, at the trial, because they were trying the four of them together, we had a mistrial the first time. So oh, that's okay, Tom. I don't care if you spell my name wrong, but thank you for noticing. So at the trial, the first time, we had a hung jury, and it was because these kids, they literally looked like kids. Like, I don't know if you guys have kids that are on here, but I have a 17-year-old and a 21-year-old. So my 21-year-old was older than all of these kids. So, and my 17-year-old was one of their ages. So I could see as a juror looking at these boys and being like, oh my God, like what happened? Also, they knew that only one of the guns killed my friend. So the lawyers, so they had four lawyers, because they each got a right to a lawyer. So there were four lawyers fighting the case, and there was one prosecutor. So that was another thing. It was like 4 against 1. And I also think that the jury knew that it was either guilty or, like, you couldn't do guilty for the one and innocent for another. which kind of made it hard because some of them might have found like the 18-year-old more culpable than the 15-year-old type thing, but that's not how it was. So we wound up getting a hung jury. They then retried them. It was a 3 to 4 week trial, both of them. The second one was a little bit longer. So one of the things that they did different in the second trial is they added more evidence. And I'll never forget asking the prosecutor, where was this evidence at the last trial? Like, I don't remember hearing any of that. And they were like, because you didn't. And I'm like, what do you mean? Like, what? And here I learned from the prosecutor that the prosecutor wants to only give as now. I'm not talking about in the Bryan Kohberger case. I think Bryan Kohberger, I think they need as much evidence as they could get. But in cases in general, that the prosecutor wants to get a conviction with the least amount of evidence as possible, because the more evidence you put out, the more the defense or the defendant has to come back on appeal. So you want to convict them with the least amount. Like, you don't want to put stuff out there that you don't even need to, that could possibly cause an issue down the road as far as an appeal. So the first time, I don't know, had they have used that extra information, maybe they would have gotten a conviction the first time, and the family wouldn't have had to wait for the second time. But I do know that. So my thing is, if they do that, and I didn't find out in the 2 years in between those two trials about the new information, so we never found out, neither did the mom or dad, about that new information until the second trial went on. So my thing is, how much of this, like, how much do we not know? And then even at trial, hopefully at trial they give enough evidence, right? I would hope so. But even at trial, if a prosecutor, from what I've been told, feels like they have shown plenty of evidence, they might not throw something out there. Like, for example, let's just say, right, we had the knife and everything, and it all went back to him or whatever. I'm just giving you an example, right? That footprint might not be something that they would even talk about, because then people would focus on the footprint and be like, well, he doesn't even wear Vans, and what if it's a different. So do you guys see what I mean? So I get it, why you would only put out so much information. But then I also thought to myself, well, what if that information would have been put out the first time? Not that the guys got out in between. And let me be honest with you, and I don't know, I probably shouldn't even say this out loud, but I would like to eventually, no, I'm not even going to say this out loud, because I don't want my best friend's parents to feel disrespected, because I would never disrespect them. I think, in other words, the 15-year-old, I kind of want to talk to sometimes, to be like, what was happening? Because, right, that's the whole thing I'm trying to get behind here. The whole reason I'm into this whole criminology is that I see so much trauma in childhood traumas from where I grew up in my life, and even from my own life and everybody around me, that if we could pick up on some of the behaviors and some of the warning signs before, right? Maybe we could stop some of these things before they ever start. And even if we don't stop all of them, if we could stop some of them, right? I know that the Golden Gate Bridge, I don't know if you guys know this, but it's the bridge where most people in the United States complete suicide. I know I'm probably not supposed to say that word. I probably just screwed myself, but whatever. I'm not monetized anyway. So they did a study, so they got permission to put cameras there for an entire year. Long story short, they didn't exactly say what they were studying, so they got permission to do this. And at the end of the year, they put out, it's called The Bridge, if anybody wants to go and watch it. I think you can find the entire documentary on YouTube. It's really good. But they went and they found a lot of these people that jumped. They found their families and did interviews with the families. So the way they do it is they set it up like a movie where they go around and they literally have the footage. So, warning for anybody that does watch it, in the first minute of the documentary, you see somebody jump. So I just want to give you that trigger warning. However, once you hear all of the stories, and then you hear this one guy from New Jersey, He literally said if she looks at me and smiles, or, or if she, I forget what it was, but it was something like if the person in front of him, when he walks by, or if she does this, he'll do that. Or if she doesn't do this, he won't do that. So in other words, it was very impulsive, right? So she didn't do what it was that he was expecting, and he wound up jumping. He got lucky in that he's one of the only people to ever survive jumping off of that bridge. He just happened to jump into, what would a bunch of seals be called? You know, there's like a pack of this or whatever seals would be called. There was a bunch of seals that were doing a whirlpool type thing, and they literally kept him from dying. And he now goes to like high schools and stuff all over and talks to people about how those thoughts of doing away with yourself are fleeting, so that like if you could just get through it, that eventually you will have better days type thing. Like your struggle, like people, there's a lot of people that struggle and that they just need to get through it. So one of the takeaways I would say from that is, let's all try to be kinder to people when we can be. Even a little thing like, oh my gosh, I love those earrings, where'd you get them at? Like, you'd be surprised how something that little means to some people, right? And even to that boy, was it that woman's fault for not smiling back at him? Absolutely not. But in that kid's head, because she didn't do that, that was enough for him to, for his impulse control to say, just jump, just jump, just jump. And he jumps, and that's it. And that was it. And he said the minute he jumped, he regretted it. And so my other thing is, how many other people were in that same predicament, right? So I know that Bryan Kohberger, in his Tappa Talks, if you guys go back and read them, and I think I read them in one of the other lives, he literally talks about the same thing about wanting to end his life, right? So we know that at some point he felt enough pain in childhood that he no longer wanted to live. So that, to me, just in itself, is where, like, I feel like okay talking about the situation. I feel like this is how I bring psychology to the general public and try to educate the masses, if you will. It's one of the things I'm good at is teaching. So why not, try and I'm not trying to teach in a sense where it's like, oh, I'm teaching you. You guys teach me as much, so I learn from you as much as I hope you learn from me. So let me just say that truth has taught me so much. I can't even tell you. Tom, just tonight, has taught me so much, right? So, like, about his record. No, just kidding, Tom. I'm the ball breaker. But seriously, so I learned from you guys just as much as I hope you learn from me. With that being said, I don't know if you're interested, but we sometimes talk. Tom is awesome. That's why I'm breaking his balls. So, that's funny. Texas, that was funny. So I wrote notes about narcissism, and I don't know if anybody's interested, but I feel like I am more interested than ever in looking at this. I know me and Dr. Schultz like had a little bit of a difference of opinion, which is great because I think it shows different sides of the coin. But I will bring this up with her too when we talk. But I do have my notes on narcissism and how, with sometimes people with narcissistic, they have a, what's the word I'm looking for? They call it switching. So, and all right, so in cluster B personality disorders, there's antisocial personality, borderline personality, narcissistic personality, and histrionic personality. So those four are in cluster B personality disorders. There's 3 clusters. So the reason they're in cluster B is because they all share dramatic, erratic emotional behavior, right? So it's like it's certain commonalities that they have, although there's so many things about them that are very different. So for example, somebody that has borderline personality disorder has an inability to regulate emotion in the way that makes them feel safe. So at the core of borderline, again, if you go back to someone's childhood, you can usually find the trauma somewhere. At the core of a borderline personality is a fear of abandonment. So at some point of a borderline's life, they probably were abandoned or felt abandoned. And this has nothing to do with Bryan. I don't think Bryan's borderline. I'm just explaining to you. And I'm getting to narcissism and antisocial, which I do think he has, right? So a narcissist is different than borderline in that They don't feel guilt and remorse, okay? But there's different types of narcissists. So I don't want to go over all the personality disorders because I don't want to lose people. And I've already lost like 2 people because I think I'm going too much into teacher mode. So let me just get to the narcissist part. So there's different phases. And what we find is that there's a switching that happens. And if any of you have ever, let's just talk about narcissism and borderline personality, because they both can lead to antisocial. So one of the arguments that I make with Dr. Schultz is that it is my opinion that, and again, we don't have direct proof about certain things in psychology because you can't just get a blood test. It's like your cholesterol is whatever. It's different, right? So a lot of it is just going back and forth and debating each other and then coming up with, oh, wait a minute, okay, and like trying to find common ground and stuff. It is my opinion, however, that all people with antisocial personality disorder, that not all, but pretty much all, yes, I might be able to say all, in almost all cases I could think of, I see narcissism, but I don't see antisocial personality in all narcissists. So let me say that again. When I look at people with antisocial personality disorder, I personally see narcissism, but I don't always see antisocial personality in narcissists. So I don't see it the reverse, if that makes sense. Okay. So it's kind of like saying a perpetrator, that perpetrators are often victims themselves. It doesn't mean that victims are going to be perpetrators, because when you look at victims as a whole, almost all, most of them never go on to hurt anybody at all. However, the few that do, when we study them, we often find out that they've been abused at some point in their life as well. So that's what I'm saying here about the narcissist and antisocial. As far as, for me, I feel like the narcissist can switch into that antisocial at some point. So I'm wondering if that's what happened, in my opinion, again, with Bryan Kohberger, if he had like that, if he did that switching thing where he was able to go from narcissistic rage, which we call it narcissistic rage, but let me be honest, and this is a little bit geeky, but if there's ever like, I don't know, another psychologist listening or whatever, they might understand me and maybe they'll be like, oh, wow, that was pretty intelligent to think. But we call it narcissistic rage. I think I wrote this somewhere. So I wrote, when a narcissist feels threatened or stressed, or they feel tension, if they've been humiliated by somebody, if they felt like, they're cornered in some way, okay, we call that, when they switch, some will switch into what we call narcissistic rage. It is my opinion that the narcissist, when they switch, that they're having more of like a borderline switch in that rage, right? Because they go from not showing emotion to that's what, I don't want to get too technical. This is what I'm going to do. So Tom, were you the one that was telling me about AI? Maybe I can have a conversation with AI and ask AI how I can talk about narcissism and narcissistic rage and borderline and stuff like that in a way that is pleasing to the general public, because I don't want to get too like textbooky on people, because I want to be able to make it. But I did write notes, so let me see what I wrote, because I usually do that when I'm trying to get a point across. That's what I'm usually writing here. So one of the things that I did write is that when I wrote that a narcissist may seek the urge. What the fuck? Oh, I wrote, oh my God, Truth, I was thinking about you when I wrote this. It's about revenge, Truth. I hope you don't kill me, because I literally, that's why I was making a face like, what the fuck did I write, right? I wrote truth and like question mark, and that's funny as hell. So I was thinking of you at some point in the middle of the night one night and put your name here. But anyway, so she's going to be like, what the fuck were you thinking about? It was about revenge, okay? So with revenge, I was thinking, when it comes to revenge is like as old as mankind, right? So as long as we've been humans or animals, or like, revenge is as old as time. So we know that, right? But why do people feel the need to seek revenge? And there's different reasons, and there's different types of revenge. So you can get revenge through getting justice. So um, retaliation, that's a way, right? You can retaliate against somebody. But these are all different ways to get revenge. So what did I write here? Oh my God, Truth. I have something here that I wanted to ask you. Oh, I know what it was. So sometimes, okay, so when we're trying to get restorative justice, so restorative justice, that's more of like a punitive justice. So victim uses, wait, they want to be, oh my God, you guys, this is why I have to change all of my stuff into notes on the computer so
For
that,
lack
because
of a
it takes
better
me a while.
word, for lack of a better word or better phrase, I baked the cake for his ass.
See, you guys, so I wasn't wrong when I wrote Truth here because Truth felt like enough whatever revenge in her to get up and say something. So, but wait, I don't want you to get mad at me. Are
No,
you going to get mad at me?
I was explaining the situation that was going on at home, right quick.
No, no, not that. I mean about this revenge thing that I'm about to say.
Oh, I thought that's what you meant by it.
No, I do, but I wrote more.
Oh shit.
It was all good stuff though. Wait, what did I write here? All right, I'm not going to read this stuff out loud. But wait, it literally says that I have a question for you, but I'm trying to read it in my head because I don't want to read it out loud just in case. But anyway, I could ask you my question offline after I like can read through my own writing. I wrote so small and I write like when I'm half asleep. So it's like half in cursive and half in print. So I literally have to like go back and
Well, read
try
it. I
to,
don't care.
okay. What did I write here? Oh my
Unless you
God.
just think it's totally inappropriate.
No, it's not inappropriate.
Okay, well, I mean, shoot.
All right, so there's like punitive revenge. So this is a victim-based type of revenge. So this is when you want to be soothed, and this is when this is healthy in normal situations. So if somebody's not suffering from mental illness, this type of revenge is not seen to be unhealthy. So this could be a healthy type of revenge. So it's victim based. Um, it's like giving the victim what they need to feel like to restore their dignity and trust and respect and stuff like that. However, and again, I think that this would be like well, you guys could think of what it could be for yourself, but this could be healthy if you are not suffering from mental illness, right? And again, this isn't where I'm getting with you. You're in a different category. So don't take any of this next stuff that I'm saying is you because it's not. So
Holy
then the
shit, she
other
has
thing
a
is,
scale like most evil.
oh my God, I never even thought of that. So I never even thought of that. So then under the punitive revenge, this could be a fantasy revenge for people who are not healthy. And again, this is my opinion. So this can become an individual's crusade and a perp of their own crimes adversely affects relationships. She becomes what? I'm gonna have to read that later. But anyway, so this one is more like a revenge fantasy, and I do think that you have that, and I think you're the she that I'm talking about here. I
Yeah.
think I wrote she becomes insane over it, but I don't really mean like just so you know, insanity, you guys, is not a psychological term; it's a legal term. And when I say insane here, I literally was meaning it like just like you say you break balls type thing. You don't really break balls. So when I said like it makes her insane, I don't mean like by the legal sense or the psychological sense. It's not even a psychological term. I was just being like that makes me nuts type thing. That's what I meant by that. But I literally wrote here that I think that you fall under this because I think that you have like a revenge fantasy. So you can become an individual crusader and what did I write? And something a perpetrator of their own crimes. and adversely affects, this could adversely affect relationships. So do you feel like it could, that it has ever affected your relationships? I have to
What?
open the door for my dogs, like having this a revenge fantasy. And just for people, do you think that you have a revenge fantasy? That's what I'm saying. I think that you have a revenge
No,
fantasy.
I'm,
No?
you know,
And I don't mean a fantasy where I think that you're like, I'm going to have to like come get you out of jail type thing, but you don't think that you fantasize about getting revenge on people ever?
no, because
That's a good. That's good.
there's so many times where people have done me extremely wrong.
No, I'm talking about the last one, the one that's not out yet. Tell me about that one. If you don't
What?
mind, you don't have to. There's only 7 people here. The one that's still in jail.
Oh, yeah. Now that's
Yeah,
different.
that's what I'm talking about, bitch. Tell
Yeah, but
if you
I
don't mind,
wanted to
tell me
make sure the chat
because
knew
I
you
don't
weren't
have to
talking
put.
about like daily interaction type shit.
No, 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 no. That's what
No, I'm
no.
not
I'm
crazy
talking about
like
against.
that.
No, that's why I'm saying. Do you want to like just give like a brief like whatever so people because that wasn't anything that you did wrong. You were
Okay,
victimized.
in 2012, I was shot by Reginald Mims, and he was the trigger man in the Birmingham Highly Inslee murders. It was a quintuple execution home invasion. And when he ran from the cops, he killed another lady in a vehicular homicide. And since he was 16 years old, he only got 25 years.
Wow, really?
He shot and carjacked me, and then he went and committed a home invasion, and he executed 5 young black men who were fathers. They were just gathering to play cards on the weekend, and he thought it was a dope house.
That's so terrible.
And he lined them up and executed them one by one. And if you read the case file, he shot the first one 11 times just to terrorize the next ones in line.
That's
Um,
terrible.
yeah,
Think about how like
he did the home invasion like 2 weeks after he shot and carjacked me. And that's what we were talking about with the witness thing. How eyewitnesses can be off. I knew he had a neck
yeah.
tattoo, but I didn't even tell the cops that he had a neck tattoo when it came to describing him because I didn't remember to. You know what I'm saying? It's
Thank you for sharing this with us too,
um,
and everybody. I hope everybody
Nick.
like appreciates that she's sharing this. That she was shot by this guy,
I knew I
and
had.
hopefully, this gives everybody that is listening the understanding of what I mean by a revenge fantasy. So again, we weren't talking about like somebody that pisses her off at the supermarket. Like this is from like somebody that shot her. So we have some men in the chat and women. Like, what do you guys like? Do you guys think that you would have a revenge fantasy against somebody that shot you? I'm just curious. But go ahead. What were you going to say?
Well, I think I think the revenge thing is just as natural as any other emotion.
That's why I started out with I literally have in my things here is that it's like as old as time. So revenge has always been a thing. So like as long as we've been around, even animals, right? Like so revenge is a thing, right? So we already know that, which is why I said that there and we do seek revenge. That's what justice is, right? It's not revenge, but it's holding somebody accountable for what they did. So that's why I said with
Well, I told you I
um
didn't feel like him being locked up was justice.
which is why I'm wondering if you fall under that revenge fantasy. That's what I was asking. And I
Oh
think you
yeah, I
might.
mean, I would love to show up the day he's supposed to step out, outside of those prison walls and give him an injury like he gave me. At the very least, at least I would feel like it was even.
Exactly. Exactly. So I wasn't wrong here when I
And
wrote truth question mark.
in the other incident where I was actually able to stand up for myself, I feel like I got even, and I was cool with it. I mean, I'm
Yeah, but
indifferent about it now. You know what I mean?
hmm no, I
So,
hear you because I hear you. But I
mhm.
do think that the revenge fantasy that we have to be careful with that because from all the stuff that I was researching,
I'm just saying, hypothetically,
it could interfere with daily
I would
functioning.
love to show up in front of the prison when he steps out. Oh,
I'm sure you
lock,
would.
locked and loaded.
I'm sure you would. Well, so that would be one type of fantasy. So I mean, one type of revenge. But again, normally, like this would also be if I were to like somehow lift you up, get you to like rewrite this in your head for why this like had nothing to do with you, to take it from a revenge fantasy to being able to restore you.
But see,
Like
that's the thing about it. It doesn't. I know it doesn't have anything to do with me, but it does.
you're right. It because it. This is the thing. What do I always say? The
Whatever
good news
made
is
him
it has
do
nothing to do with you.
what,
The bad news
yeah,
is it had nothing to do with you.
hey, yeah, whatever he did to me and whatever he did to them, I know none of that had anything to do with me. I didn't do anything to him, but it still
You're
don't.
right.
And no matter it, you still want to get even. It's not even getting like back and then some. It's like I just want
So
to get even.
where is normal, but okay, revenge is normal, but where does it stop? Or do you mean like where
I don't think when something like that happens to you, it ever stops. Especially when you don't feel like they got the time that they deserved. 16 years old, you know better than to kill somebody.
so the kid that killed my friend was 15, and I really want to talk to them because for me, I feel like, and I hope my friend's mom and dad aren't watching this because, again, I don't ever want them to feel disrespected. But I feel like that at least the 15 and 16-year-old, I feel like even the 17-year-old, even the 18-year-old, their brains are so underdeveloped. And I know that they know right from wrong. But what was going on in their life that these two brothers thought that it was okay to just go out and shoot somebody for money? You know what I mean? Like they were like two
Mhm.
of them were brothers. Like what was happening in their life? What weren't they getting in their own life that they thought that that was okay to just
Plus,
like
usually
here throw your brother a gun?
when it's two, they're encouraging the worst behavior out of each other when something like that happens at the same time.
So I'm so glad you said that because I think in my opinion that the 15-year-old was at the wrong place at the wrong lack of empathy. That's exactly right, Tom. I'm going to get to that in 1 minute, Tom, because there's another type of revenge that's narcissistic revenge that I wanted to bring up too. But which I don't think that you're a narcissist. I don't think you have narcissistic revenge. It's a different type of revenge. So I already went over the revenge that I think that you have. That's um the fantasy type where you like fantasize about this person.
Well,
But what
I told you about me growing up where that was my only solace.
that's
You
right.
know,
You learn to do
on
that.
on how to get back. How could I get back? Because I wasn't as strong. You know what I'm saying?
Oh
So
my God, Texas. I didn't know that. Did you know that Texas worked at a maximum
yes,
security prison? I didn't.
yes,
Oh, so Texas, you know this shit that I'm talking about.
oh yeah.
But so
Texas
Texas
knows all
sees how
about
a
us.
revenge, but Texas probably sees how a revenge fantasy can get like lead to a really bad place.
Oh yeah.
Do you know what I mean? So we have to get
Especially
you
when
to a
you got a
different
bunch of
place with this.
macho guys trying to out macho each other in the same place.
Oh my God, I couldn't imagine. Oh yeah, I didn't even think about all that. I couldn't even imagine all that. Texas, you probably seen it all. That's the one job I would never be able to do. Have you guys? I know that you have. Do you guys remember the case about the prisoners and the lady who, um, oh, what was it? They were. She was supposed to meet them at the hole the in the. Oh my God, the two prisoners that escaped and they were Calvacanti or whatever. Do you guys remember that? It was like it was a big thing on YouTube. And they were the two prisoners that were on the run for a while, and then they were able to tie it back to the woman who worked at the
Yeah.
prison, and she worked like in the art or whatever in the art section, and they were able to get her to like bring them in tools and stuff through raw meat. Like she was bringing it in through like ground beef.
Oh
I was like,
wow.
"What?" Yeah, so they like cut themselves like a hole, and every night they would saw away at it, and then the one night, yes, in the prison. I don't remember exactly where it was. I think it was, but that was crazy, and they were on the run for like days, and the one wound up getting killed by the cops, and the other one got shot. I think in the no, I think the other one got shot in the leg, but I think it was a dog. I think it was a police dog that like chased him down and got him, and the police dog is the one that like was able to hold him until the cops like ran down to arrest him. But it was crazy. But anyway, that woman. I think what happened to her was, I think that she was probably feeling very, she had a very low self-esteem. And I think that this is what I'm trying to talk about. So somebody, and again, this is now beyond truth, somebody that is, that has antisocial personality disorder can work a woman that has low self-esteem, like this woman in the prison, and work her enough to where they build a relationship with her, knowing that they're then going to use her to get her to smuggle in these tools so that they can cut themselves out of prison. And then they wanted her, they fell in love with her. They were having sex with her and stuff, like giving her all kinds of like praise. And I guess she wasn't getting that praise enough at home or whatever. Like she was craving the attention, they were giving it to her, and she winds up doing all this stuff, right? So
Oh yeah, they
the
were
night,
probably really giving it to her too. Hey,
well, the night that they cut themselves out, she was supposed to meet them at the manhole at a certain time to pick them up, and they were going to flee to Canada. Yes, it was up north. They were going to flee to Canada, I think it was. And here she, at the very last minute, has cold turkey, and she decides not to go. So when they get out of the manhole and she's not there, they wind up going in like the woods, and it took like 5 or 6 days or something to find them. But here, I'm like, if that woman didn't think, like, I don't know if anybody else is listening, but if that woman didn't think that she was the first person that they were going to kill, right? Like, they would have gotten rid of her right away, because if she was that easy to, not easy, but if it was that in their head that
they're
easy,
very, very manipulative.
yes.
You're
And they
talking
don't
about
have guilt and
some.
remorse.
No, like it's not even that. Well, that too, but
Well, think about it. They
they
knew
can be
that they would be
so
taking her away from her husband.
superficially. They can be so superficially manipulative and charming
Which is what
that
I'm talking about, that, and they felt no guilt or remorse about that. They did it day after day
no,
after day.
yeah.
So Texas, you must be, wait, I had
I mean,
Stephen Russell.
throw some tube steak to a starving dog, it's gonna bite.
How do you escape 4 or 5 times? People are to be used by people like that. So exactly. So I feel like these prisoners, empathy was lacking in her friends. Probably. But these prisoners that did this also lacked empathy. So it didn't matter to them. They knew. And again, I have no doubt in my mind that she would have been the first person they offed. They would have offed her, left her, and taken her car and went to Canada or whatever. Because again, she would have been a witness, number one. So, and she would have known that they escaped. She would have known where they were. So there were like
She
too
would have
many
known
things.
where they
And
were going.
she would have known where they were going, all of those things. So I think that she would have been the first thing that they got rid of. So I think that she saved her own life by the very last minute having a change of heart. She winds up going to the hospital for like chest pains or something. And I think she was having an anxiety attack, because I don't think they found anything wrong with like her heart. But that also could have been her way of, if she ever talked to them again, to be like, I was having like a heart attack or whatever. I thought I was having a heart attack. I had to go to the hospital type thing. But obviously she's in jail right now because she broke the law by doing all that. Um, Rule number one, don't trust the prisoners. They will say anything to get out. Exactly. That's exactly right. So, and then Texas said he never escaped at my unit. Watch movie. I love you, Philip Morris. That's who it's about. Um, but don't ever trust the prisoner. I totally agree. Like if they're dying to get out, so that lady wound up trusting them and then started bringing shit in for them. So I think that that's important to note, because there's people out there that are, and if you looked at these guys, you could see how um, they were like the one, he was very charming. People said, why can't I think of their freaking names? It's going to bother me. I have to look it up real quick, because it's going to bother the hell out of me.
Yeah, she ended up with he ended up shooting her. Either that or she shot herself. I think he shot her.
What, in your case?
No, I'm talking about that there was a officer that got this one guy out of jail, and they went on the run together. Remember, there was a big manhunt out for him.
Is that who I'm talking about?
No, it's a different one. This happened in the South.
And let me see. Was this one?
Let me look it up right quick.
But we're both like confused about our prison escapes. Who was? Wait, let me see. I think I might have found it. I just have to make sure I see a picture to make sure that it's the right person. Was it the Cavalcanti guy or whatever? You don't know.
I'm looking something up. You know, I gotta focus. I can't.
I
keep
know, that's how I
everything
am
walk
too.
At the same
So
time.
maybe we shouldn't both focus
Yeah,
at the same time.
her name was Vicky White.
Gotcha.
And it happened in Alabama.
Wait, you guys, I think this is it. Hold on. Oh no, that's not him. Oh no, that's not him. That was somebody else, Cavalcanti. He did get chased down by the dog. I'm mixing up two different cases here. See, this is why you have to fact check. The other one, oh my God, you guys, I wish somebody knew who I was talking about. Vicky White was the one who worked at
Casey
the
White.
jail. Is that her name, Vicky White? Hold on, I'm going to look her up.
Vicky White and
Thank you, whoever just told us that.
yeah, I think, did they get married?
Who?
An Alabama prisoner received life sentence on Thursday for escaping with the help
No,
of
wait, this isn't the one I was thinking of either with Vicky White. I can't believe I can't think of these prisoners' names. Oh my God.
You're talking about the one that wanted to go to Canada?
What were their names? It was oh my God. I'll think of it eventually. Watch, as soon as we hang up, I'll think of it. It's going to bother me though. I feel like it's on the tip of my tongue. But I feel like Vicky White sounds right, but when I look at a picture, it doesn't look like. Maybe I'm wrong. Hold on, let me see. Maybe I'm looking at something different. Who are the guys? Let's see.
She's the one that shot herself in the head.
No, that's not it then.
When the cops finally caught up to him?
This one was escape prisoners. I just put in 2 escape prisoners. Yeah, that's going to help me.
Can you imagine throwing all that work and 401k and all them benefits away for?
Yes, that's. Oh my God, who's going to probably kill you as soon as you get there or whatever? Absolutely. Joyce Mitchell, I think is her name. Hold on, y'all. I think I found it. I love Google. I literally wrote in. Wait, I can't even. Wait, I wrote 2 escape prisoners from up north who used the lady from jail to get them out. And it literally came back with Joyce Mitchell. And that's her. Hold on, I'm going to share a picture. Let me show y'all who Joyce Mitchell is.
Yeah, the Candyman Dean Coral is real good one to look at.
Wait, look at Joyce Mitchell real quick and see if you guys remember.
Oh, I can see why you'd say she looked like Vicky White. They look similar.
Helping a pair of convicted killers escape a New York prison in 2015 is expected to be released today.
Oh wait, she was released?
Prison worker. She admitted to helping those inmates escape, prompting a weeks-long manhunt. Mitchell has served nearly 5 years. She was denied parole 3 times.
I didn't know she was out of jail, you guys.
You better watch out.
I hope her husband didn't. I don't know. I think I heard her husband I heard her husband stood by her and stuff.
Hey, Texas is in here talking about the Candyman Dean Coral.
Who? Who's that?
That's that guy. He got this young boy about 15 years old, 15 or 16 years old. He might have been old enough to drive, to go pick up younger boys and bring them to him so he could torture them and kill them. What? And he was burying their bodies in a storage unit. And he had so many bodies piled in that storage unit that he had to bury them on top of one another.
Oh my God! What?
Yeah. Well, the kid the kid ended up telling the cops, and that's the guy that Texas is talking about that tried to escape 4 or 5 times, or he did escape 4 or 5 times. Mm-hmm.
Was that at Texas? Was that at your jail? Was that at the jail that Texas was working at?
Yeah.
Oh my God.
See, but Dean Coral died, but see the boy that was going out and getting him younger boys to kill finally got. I mean, he almost killed him, and so he ended up killing him kind of in a self-defense manner, really. But since he was a part of procuring those boys and bringing them to him, they still charged him. But he did give it up and tell the cops all about it, though. I mean, he tried to come clean.
Wait, here's a 2-minute video. Let's see what it says.
Now to a developing story you first saw on KHOU 11 News. Early morning rain forced Texas EquiSearch to hit the pause button today on the search for more of Houston serial killer Dean Corll's victims. We were the only station there yesterday as crews began digging in a Pasadena backyard. Wow. Texas EquiSearch says there could be up to 20 more victims out there. Our Marcelino Benito is live in Pasadena this evening. Marcelino, why are they focusing so much on this one specific house?
Well, Mia, the property behind me has a pretty dark past. This is where notorious Houston serial killer Dean Corll lived. It's actually where he killed many of those victims. And now Texas EquiSearch has reason to believe there could be bodies buried in the backyard.
Wow.
Air 11 captured exclusive video yesterday as Texas EquiSearch began excavating this backyard looking for human remains.
We're cautiously optimistic something is going to come from this one way or the other.
The Houston mass murders back in the headlines after more than 48 years. From 1970 to 1973, Dean Corll, nicknamed by some as the Candyman, along with accomplices Elmer Wayne Henley and David Brooks, raped, tortured, and killed at least 28 young boys.
You have accomplices that are knowingly and willingly marching young men to a very sadistic and insidious death.
The murders only stopped when Henley turned on Corll and killed him.
This is one of the largest serial killings in this country's history.
Victims advocate Andy Kahn has spent many years making sure Henley never leaves prison. He says there's always been rumors there were at least 20 more victims. The leads this time, he believes, are promising.
It's my understanding that there's some really good information out there as to why we're concentrating on this particular plot of land.
Wednesday's search yielded nothing, but there's more digging to do.
There are other areas that I know that will be looked at if this one doesn't pan out. There's families out there that do not have answers that deserve answers.
Wow. So wait, real quick, Texas. Wow. So wait, Texas says Henley told me he had 26 counts. I think I found 6. What do you mean? Like you personally found 6 of his victims? Oh my God. I didn't know any of this about you. That's crazy. He was at the right of the photo. They still haven't found all of them. That's horrible.
No,
so
man.
Wait, so Texas, so they know that there's people, or either one. So they know that there's people that are connected to him that they just haven't found?
Yeah.
Wow.
Well, you got to think about it. He was burying them. He ended up burying them in a storage unit. So did he run out of room in the backyard and he had to start using a storage unit? That's what you have to ask yourself.
Well, you would think that they would have checked that, right?
Well, I don't know. They found all those bodies I don't think they've ever dug up his backyard.
Oh, really? Why not?
I mean, they are now.
Wow. That's crazy.
But if you ever watch that documentary, it's got a lot of live action when they're actually at the storage unit, and they let, who is that, Henley? they let Henley call his mama, and he goes, "Mama, I killed Dean." I mean, it's got a whole video of it. Yeah.
Oh, I'm gonna have to watch
You
that.
see, that guy was paying them boys like $200 and $300 a head to bring them boys to the house.
So we had a guy that lived around here in Philadelphia, and his name was Uncle Eddie. And I don't know if anybody ever heard about him, but he used to, like, the people in my generation, so like friends of mine and stuff, he used to pay boys to drop off semen, but they would put it in a box. Wait, someone said they had to step out. Did I miss anything on narcissistic revenge? No, but because I went off of it, but I will, if you want me to, get back to it. I should get back to it because that's pretty much what I'm on here for, is to talk about narcissism and stuff. But yeah, that's crazy. I'm going to look up that case as soon as I get off of here, because now I want to know everything about it. But you didn't miss anything, Envision, and thank you for being here. I hope you're subscribed. So let me get back to narcissistic revenge. So narcissistic revenge is now we're past truth. So this is somebody who has narcissism. So this is when a person no longer wants to share in the narcissistic fantasy. So let's say your parent is a narcissist, and you finally, maybe you go to therapy and stuff, and you learn how to put up boundaries and things like that. And you no longer want to live in this narcissist fantasy world, because this is the thing, you guys, if you're dating a narcissist, if your parent's a narcissist, you're part of their narcissistic fantasy. So when you no longer want to be a part of that narcissistic fantasy, the narcissist often feels injured and they feel like they've become a victim. So instead of seeing it as this other person is putting up boundaries as a way to protect themselves, they see themselves as now victims. And it's like, wait, why don't you want to, live in this fantasy of mine? They don't say that, but they feel like they've been victimized in that moment. So if you ever break up with a narcissist, they might go through a narcissistic type revenge, and even in like thought process, right? But they really do feel victimized, even though they're the ones that were being the perpetrator to you as far as abusive, when it comes to keeping you within their realm. Think of it this way, you guys. So a narcissist wants to keep you around. So the narcissist can put you on the shelf, right? But when you go to put the narcissist on the shelf, that's when they feel like they've been injured, if that makes sense. Truth, can I get you to mute that? I'm going to mute your mic real quick. And then just unmute if you want to talk. But the narcissist, real quick, I put here, let me read from my little notes here, that, okay. So we all have an internal working model. Let me talk about that real quick. Your internal working model is how you feel about yourself. So it's whether if you feel like you can be loved or you're worthy of loving other people. Your internal working model is the person in your head. So the person that tells you, you got this, go ahead, you keep going. Like, in my doctorate degree, there's a reason why only 3 of us are graduating and that so many people dropped out. They literally put you through the ringer, like emotionally, just in so many ways. So, and again, it's a leadership program. So that's part of the program, in my opinion. It's part of the design, if you will. Okay. So back to the narcissist. When you no longer want to be part of their fantasy, they feel injured and victimized. Their internal working model, so how they feel about themselves, reminds them that they're inadequate, that they're unlovable, that they are incapable of loving others, and they're stupid, right? And that they're unworthy of love. They're unworthy of that other person that just cut them off. So let me let you know that a narcissist will beat themselves up. So they do have the ability to have that inner working model, if you will, or inner voice. There you go. They have an inner voice that'll just remind them about how inadequate they are. Again, it's their internal voice thinking it. Okay. So then I wrote, the only way to stop this is to silence it. So eventually that self-victimization can become too much. And again, how do you do this? You just stop it. So for some people, okay, and again, this isn't all narcissists. So some narcissists, they'll stop it and they'll like act out and stuff. So they'll go into like almost like a borderline state where they, it almost looks childlike. So again, it's like that switch, but I didn't get to that part yet. So let me just keep going real quick. So one silences it by proving their worth. Okay. They show you that you're wrong. And again, this is where Bryan Kohberger comes in. They keep saying that there's no connection between him and them. The problem is they're not telling you that in psychology or in somebody's thought process, they could have a relationship with you, even if you don't know about it. I don't know if you guys remember, but one of my favorite lives that 12 Gauge ever had was the one where we talked about the person who the girl was on and her mom comes on in the end, and about the elevator and the guy that was trying to go there and he thought they had a relationship and da. And she was like, wait, what? Like, so to her, she was kind to him at one point, and he like literally winds up thinking like he like texts her every day, and he winds up like thinking that these signs are for him and all this stuff. So just because there's no connection between them doesn't mean that there wasn't a relationship happening in one of their heads. And again, this is just my opinion, and we see this in other cases as well. Okay. So just because there's no physical connection does not mean that there wasn't a relationship happening in somebody else's head. However, if we're talking about in a normal sense, right? In a not normal, in a sense where it doesn't go like to a killing type thing, the normal person in this situation will just prove that they're worthy. So I think I told you guys before that, oh, I hope she's not listening, but I've diagnosed my mom with narcissistic personality disorder, like for real. So, and I've gone through all of this. So all of this is also coming from experience, but I've also researched it because again, I think that I have a lot of like the same thought processes as Bryan Kohberger had. Like we have a lot of the same things that have occurred. I don't know where the narcissist is in his life, but unless it's him, right? Because I'm not a narcissist. So maybe he's the narcissist. I think he is. I don't know why I just said that. I think he is. Let me also tell you guys that I have ADHD and I'm no longer medicated today. So if I go off on a tangent a little bit, that's why. When you get me on Monday night, I'm still good and I'm still medicated, and I'm aided. Unfortunately, about 1% of adults will continue to have ADHD, and I happen to be one of those people. And out of that 1%, 9 out of 10 of them are usually males. So it's that uncommon for a female to have ADHD as bad as I do, but I really do. I have it bad. So I do apologize from now, and just know that if you ever come back to my channel, that if you're getting me in the middle of the night, you might get Jamie that's a little bit all over the place. But if you get me on like a scheduled time, like our Monday night thing, that Dr. Vona, and I have my and again, it's not always just medication. I obviously have cognitive behavioral.
Bring it back in, girl.
Exactly. And that, there you go. Thank you. Truth. Thank you. Let me bring it back in. So one silences it by proving their worth. They show you are wrong. I am. Oh, and then, so that's on the one side. So, and this is where I think, this is where I brought my story in, because I did this, right? So I got my doctorate degree. It was like, I am worthy. I'm not inadequate. I'm worthy. I had an eating disorder. I told you guys that me and Bryan went to the same eating disorder unit. We both had the same eating disorder doctor. So that was another thing, right? Oh, thank you, Sirius. And then I get my doctorate degree, right? So the thing is, where does somebody like me, where I don't have a narcissistic rage where I snap and want to go kill people, right? But then how can somebody like maybe, allegedly, Bryan, have that, right? So what I have here, what I wrote was, because again, I'm trying to figure this out in real time. So let me just read from my notes so I can reel it back in. So I wrote, I'm almost at the end. So on the other end, so where I just like did that whole, let me prove you wrong, once you do that, and Bryan does that too, right? Because he gets over his eating disorder. He has a heroin addiction that he gets over, and he gets his bachelor's degree, his master's degree, and now he's signed up for his doctorate degree. Just like with an addiction or anything else, I think eventually it was like it no longer was enough to feed his ego. Like it was no longer enough for him, where I feel like mine's enough. And I've been able to set the boundaries for long enough that I don't feel the need to go any further. So let me tell you. So over here, I have that for people in the other end of the spectrum, they may feel like they need to they have that godlike feeling where they feel like they're the ones that need to have control and that they're smarter than other people, or that they have a wit, maybe is the right word, that others might not have, even though that's not real. Okay. So let's see. I am godlike. I'm gonna push those who victimize me. I'm going to punish those who victimize me. But it starts with humiliation. So this is the thing. So this usually happens when a narcissist feels humiliated. So what other way than feeling humiliated, or one form of humiliation, I would assume for Bryan might be that there was a few times that he reports himself that he felt. He doesn't use the word humiliation, but you could say that it was humiliation, like even if you read his Tappa Talks and stuff. But even beyond that, we know that at the one bar, the bartender came out and told him that he wasn't allowed to like say anything to the waitresses because he was rude to them before, and he eventually gets like combative and is like, what are you talking about? Like, no, but he winds up leaving, right? So in that sense, he might have felt humiliated in that particular moment. So there could have been other times where he felt humiliated. Who knows if he ever ran into Maddie at the Mad Greek getting a pizza? Who knows? We just don't know. And I think that's the important part to understand. Okay. So when they feel humiliated, and again, this is the narcissist, and this is what I found for, who was it? Sirius remembers us from one of the first times that she see me. So Sirius, after a bunch of soul searching, what I found is that I'm not a narcissist, and that's what makes me different than Bryan Kohberger. I believe, in my opinion, that he is a narcissist, and I think that's where we differ. I think that he lacks that interpersonal communication, that ability to connect with other people. I think that I have an ability to connect with other people, and that I do have interpersonal communication skills, and I am able to hold relationships with other people. So I think that's where we differ. So if we're now going just on him, as far as my opinion, with his narcissistic rage type thing, okay, I think in his head, he wanted, I wrote, where the narcissist has an inflated sense of self. The victim is okay, so here we go. So a narcissist, when we think of narcissist, we think of grandiosity. In the Tappa Talk, Bryan talks about feeling delusions of grandeur. He actually calls it that. And a delusion of grandeur is pretty much, I'm better than you, I'm smarter than you, I'm better. Grande, right? Grande means large. So feeling larger than yourself. Okay, that's usually what they look like to others, or they express that they're feeling, when really it's the opposite. So they're usually very inflated sense of self. So they usually have a low self-esteem. They don't feel like they're worthy, things like that. Again, that's where I think I differ. I do feel like I'm worthy, and I do feel like I can love other people. Maybe that was after a ton of therapy. I don't know. Again, maybe that's where we differed. Maybe I continued therapy where after eating disorder, he stopped his. I don't know. I also wrote here that if you look at it, an inflated sense of self, that would be the opposite of being a victim. So if you remember, if you just rewind a couple sentences back, even though it was probably 10 minutes back in me talking, I literally wrote that when the person that's with the narcissist. So let's do it in a relationship just so I can make it easier. So whether it's a mother-daughter, a boyfriend, girlfriend, whatever, let's just take a relationship as, let's do boyfriend, girlfriend, just as a way for me to give you guys an example. So let's say the male's a narcissist and the female is not, but the female lives within the narcissist fantasy. So the narcissist, their fantasy of what they think is but they have control over things like that. This is the thing. When a narcissist breaks up with you, they usually still keep you around. So think of the person as like a gas tank, and every now and then the narcissist comes and they fill up that gas tank. So again, that could be in the form of attention. We sometimes call this love bombing, things like that, right? So we fill up that gas tank and then we deplete the gas tank when the a narcissist depletes the gas tank when they want to, but they keep it around so that they can refill it again and store it on the shelf so that when they need to, they can deplete that again, and then so on and so forth, right? So when that person is finally like, my gas tank is done, there's no more gas tank for you to fill up, I don't want your gas anymore, that's when we're talking about when this happens, okay? So this is when the narcissist now feels, they go from feeling like they're in control and that they're grande or they're bigger than life, to feeling like a victim. And if you think about it, isn't victimization the opposite of feeling like a god, right? So imagine this godlike feeling all of a sudden feeling like the victim. So like, how dare you take away your gas can? Like, what are you thinking? Like, how dare you? Don't you know that I'm so good to you, or I'm this, I'm that, I'm the other, because I'm grandiose. I see all this, as a narcissist, you would see all this good stuff about yourself. So, and again, that sometimes is how you keep the gas tank there. But when the person's ready to give it up and they're like, I'm done, I do think that there could be danger for some people in that situation if they're dealing with a real narcissist. And if they're really cutting that narcissist off, to make sure you're going through therapy or something to where you're getting the right resources and support that you need to do it so that you're safe. All right, so then I have here, so then what happens when you feel grandiose and then you feel like the victim? You now feel like you have to get revenge, right? So this is where narcissistic revenge, this would be a different type of revenge than the type I was talking about that I think that truth goes through. So with this one, by destroying their perceived threat, and that's it right there. I underlined and I wrote the word perceived in capital letters and I underlined it like 12 times, because this is the thing. It's a perceived threat, meaning the other person perceives it. It doesn't mean that it's true. Perception is reality even when it's not real. So for example, if your 8-year-old thinks that daddy left because he asked too many times if daddy could drive us to the mall, that's the little kid's reality. The truth might be that no, daddy just spent our life savings on hookers and I kicked him out. You know what I mean? But that's inappropriate to tell the 8-year-old. So you tell the 8-year-old that mommy and daddy still love you. We're going to still raise you, blah, 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 blah. But again, if the 8-year-old thinks like, oh my God, it has to be my fault, I might have asked daddy too many times to do this or do that, that's that kid's perception. That's the reality. So when I say perceived threat here, Bryan Kohberger or somebody in that situation, whoever did this, their perceived threat might not be a threat at all. Okay. So that's where that relationship comes in too. There could be a possibility that although no physical connection, there could have been a psychological connection that maybe some of the victims didn't even realize. So we might find that out too. Okay. So by destroying their perceived threat, they regain control, okay? And again, this is a very out of control thing to do. So when I say they regain control, I'm talking about perceived control, or the control that they think that they have, even though it's a very out of control behavior, okay? And then they feel grandiose again. So by me getting revenge on you, I now feel better about myself. So in that sense, when I punish you as a narcissist, I regain my godlike personality again. So is your ego or your grandiosity, right? Is that more of the reason for revenge than the person wanting to leave your fantasy? Does that make sense? So let me say that again. Could that lashing out, could that really have to do with the person's ego, okay, and their grandiosity more than the other person wanting to be done with their shenanigans, if you will? And is it about, what did I write? Is it about restoring justice? Or is it about their own narcissistic, sometimes sadistic, I don't know what that last word is. Oh, psychology. So their thought process. I don't know. What do you guys think about that? And then there's one other type of revenge that we learn about in psychology, and that is, ooh, my dog. That's restorative revenge. So this is actually the most healthy of all the types of revenge. My dog again, sorry. So these are acts against the perpetrator in a functional, calm way. So another name for this, you guys, is social, or just justice. Justice is another name for this type of revenge. So when we seek justice, this is the most healthy type of revenge. So again, restorative justice is the most healthy type of revenge. And it's the type of revenge that we see as, or we call justice. So that's the healthiest. The second healthiest would be that first type that I was talking about with the punitive type of revenge. So there's those three types. So with the punitive revenge, if you are healthy mentally, this might just be about restoring you as a victim, like getting therapy, giving you resources. So it could be very healthy. But if you are not unhealthy, but if you're over analyzing it, or maybe a post-traumatic stress disorder from something, right? Truth, at that point, it could then become that other type of revenge fantasy. And that could become unhealthy if the person that wants to get revenge ever has an opportunity to do so. So that's where I wrote truth with a question mark, because I would never want Truth to put herself in a situation where she could lose control. But then again, I would also hope for Truth, as my friend now, to get you to a place to where even if this person did get out of jail and you did know where they lived, that you wouldn't feel the need to take revenge, because you were able to regain your own sense of self-worth. And again, like you might think that has nothing to do with you as far as your own self-worth, but it kind of does in a way. But again, the good news is it's not about you. The bad news is it's not about you. But the good news also is I think that you're going to be all right, because I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I just believe in the good in people, but I don't feel like you would put yourself in this situation for that to even happen. Like, I would hope that before you would do something revengeful, let's say, that would get you in trouble, that you would do something like go up against the parole board and tell them why this person shouldn't be out of jail, like something like that. And if we could get you...
Oh, no doubt he's getting out in 25 years.
Okay,
that's all they can give him. He won't parole. He has to do the 25.
So how many years does he have? How many more years do we have till we have to get...
He's been locked up since February of 2012.
All right, so we still have time. So hopefully in that time or whatever, we can get you to a place where you don't have that revenge.
You mean that you mean my retirement plan's gonna fall through?
Yes, but you'll have me to fall back on, so that's good. I'll always be around. I'm good like that.
I was planning my retirement around getting him. I'm not kidding.
I'm like herpes. I'm not going anywhere. I'm just kidding.
As a joke, I said, yeah, I'm gonna do him a little something, and I'm gonna end up in prison, and that'll be my retirement plan. At least they'll feed me 3 times a day.
Wait. Tom, revenge wears different masks, but in the end, it's the same.
No, yeah.
But anyway, so, and just to, whatever, close that part up. Unless do you have something else to say about that?
I just think it's absolutely normal to want to get back at somebody that's done something like that to you.
Which is why I started the whole thing out with revenge is as old as time. So revenge is very normal. It's very normal. There's nothing wrong with revenge. Think about a little kid that like laughs and they're like, ha ha, like you got your karma. That's like revenge, right? So revenge is absolutely normal.
Most of the time when somebody does something to me, it's considering the things that I've been through, nobody can make me mad enough with their mouth to get violent. You know what I mean? That never happens.
Look at this one. Papa Rogers is inside looking out. That's right. So that's like that projection, right? It's normal, but if you do, we pay for it. Okay, so what do you mean by that, Tom? So Tom says it's normal, but if you do take revenge, we pay for it. I see what you're saying. He's right. Because then you go to jail. Is that what you mean, Tom? Like revenge. Yes, I see what you're saying. And then you would also hurt other people too that of course care about you, want to see you in a bad situation either. So yeah, you go to jail and then we pay for it. So he literally
starting to hypothetically think, y'all. I was making jokes.
Exactly. Well, I guess that's my point. But what's the difference between that's my whole point of this. Like, how did
my whole point is, you know,
a lot of things the same but very different?
You understand there's a line. I understand.
Is that what it is?
I understand what's socially acceptable and what's not. But it's not going to stop.
But is that enough to really stop someone?
I wouldn't go and really sit in front of a prison and wait on him to get out. You know what I mean?
But what if you knew he was out and you knew where he lived? Would you like feel the need to go like see him in some way?
No, but I do.
That makes me feel good.
I do know he knows where I live, and I welcome him to show up.
Hopefully by then he wouldn't. Like, I don't know, who knows, but hopefully by then that'll be like, I'm not worried about him. I'm worried more about you. But now I'm not. Now I feel better knowing that you really, that it's just a fantasy.
He would have to literally come to my house and try to get in my house for me to do something.
No. And there you go. And if you did,
I'm not going to prison for anybody. I was making jokes.
Good.
See,
well, that makes me happy. No,
I
can tell when you're joking. Truth, I think I said, if you go back and rewind this, I swear to God, if you go back and rewind this when I bring you up, I literally said, am I just naive? But I see the good in people, but I don't think you would ever do anything. I literally said that. So if you go back, I definitely said that before we started this, and I don't think you would. But again, I don't know. That's why I was asking, like, can I be naive? But I don't think that you would. But that's the difference between.
But I can honestly say that it's taken a while for me to get my impulse control under control.
That's okay, though. That's okay.
Because of PTSD.
I was just going to say that's okay because you're dealing with PTSD, which is a disorder in itself, right? So I totally understand that. So I guess the big thing here, you guys, is that it's one thing to have a fantasy about something. It's another thing to act out on it, right? So I think that when somebody wants to get revenge on someone that they feel like hurt them in some way, that we could do it in a few different ways. And one of the ways is to just bring ourselves up, but maybe not focus on the perpetrator, focus on ourselves and what we could do to make ourselves better. But then again, part of that could be like if you start to get depressed or get PTSD, you could start having revenge fantasies. Again, that then takes the next steps. Is this just a fantasy or is this something that can become reality? I think for Bryan Kohberger, because in my opinion,
I do it for a soothing thing. It calms me down.
So I don't know if I was just talking very, I was trying to be too politically correct, but I said that if you're psychologically healthy, right, in that first part, and it's not as opposed to not being psychologically healthy, but as opposed to having PTSD. And I probably should have just said that. So if you have PTSD or anxiety or depression, and again, not just you, anybody that goes through a trauma, me included, right? You're more likely then to fantasize about this as opposed to just getting therapy, getting yourself back to normal and going on with your day. So that's what I'm saying. But I'm saying that it's normal to want to get revenge and that most of us want to get revenge through the justice system.
Combine that with other symptoms of PTSD.
That's my whole point. That's what makes it a revenge fantasy.
The moodiness, the being overly observant of your surroundings.
Exactly.
I can't go to a restaurant without with my back to the wall where I can see the exits.
So do you guys actually, because you're actually validating what I'm trying to say. Maybe I'm just having a hard time putting my words together right now because it's late, but you're like pretty much validating what I'm saying. So in other words, if let's say, so some people, we could all experience a trauma and some of us can develop PTSD and others may not. Most of us would probably develop PTSD, but some will not. If you don't develop PTSD from it, you might be able to get yourself better in some way. Maybe you get therapy, you have supports, da da da. If for some reason you wind up having PTSD or anxiety or depression or any symptoms of mental, any of it, exactly, any of it, all of it, all of the things.
Yeah,
but that leads you. But if you could think about it, you just not prove my point, because you don't really prove anything in science, but you just supported my thought process in saying that your mood then changed and you were always hyper aware. Like if you could imagine, it's almost like in an animal state, like a survival state, where you're like looking out, because it's PTSD and that's what PTSD does, right? And you need to survive. So now your central nervous system and your body is reacting as if there's a tiger in front of you at all times, and there might not be.
But the bad thing about it is that inside you feel like you're the one that's the tiger.
That is so fucking insightful. That's so insightful, right?
Mm-hmm.
But because
you have it's like you have the awareness of a prey, but on the inside you feel like the tiger. That's the best way I can describe it.
I get it. But you see, I could see where I think the reason I wrote truth next to revenge fantasy is because of PTSD, and because PTSD is so it's so like alive in people that have it. It literally like it's like a bruise on the brain. Think of it that way. Like we literally could see PTSD in certain brain scans.
From my point of view, and not having a gun on me that day, and feeling the survivor's guilt, I was so mad at myself for not being able to protect myself. It just made me
feel very vulnerable. And
no, it was me. I was mad at me because I felt like I was slipping.
So wait, did you feel?
I've always been able to protect myself.
Okay. So did you feel inadequate?
I felt like 6 people would be alive if I would have had a gun that day.
Okay.
And that's a big 6 lives is a huge weight to carry.
It really is. It really is. But how do you know that if you had a gun that day that it wouldn't have been used against you, or that you still wouldn't have been shot?
It was used against me. Why not have one? At least I would have been able to shoot back.
Right, but I guess I'm just saying that just because you have a gun doesn't mean that you would have necessarily gotten him. If anything, you could have enraged him more, and he could have killed you, and then went and killed them too.
In that car when it drove away, I would have. I don't care if he was trying to leave the situation.
Right, but then he might have killed you and still killed them.
Well, how's he going to shoot backwards when he's driving?
Well, no. Eventually, you would run out of bullets.
Like as he pulls off, at least I would have put enough in the car where it probably would have incapacitated it. So the cops
which would make think that would make him become rageful and then want to kill you, and then he would have probably continued.
He had 2 shots left. He fired 4 at me. It was a 6-shooter.
But then, how did he go on? When did he like? He obviously had more bullets. Didn't he go on and kill more people?
No, it was 14 days later when he did the home invasion.
Gotcha. Okay, well,
he was on a crime spree. He was on a crime spree. He had cooling off periods in between it all.
All right. Well, I hope you know that the good news is that his shit wasn't about you. The bad news is his shit wasn't about you, and probably, obviously should have thought more about you, but didn't.
Yeah, but, I still have. I still feel like my inaction got people killed because
there's no way. That's not true, though.
It takes good guys with guns to stop bad guys with guns, and It hurts my feelings. It really does.
All right. Well, I hope that someday you come to the realization that you had no control over that. You have no control over that. Unfortunately, you have no control over that because he could have still, like, you could have shot him and he could have gone to the hospital, lived, and then killed people after that. Like, so, like, what happened to you that day was so unfortunate. Thank God you're still here to tell the story. And thank God he was caught and arrested eventually so that he didn't go on to hurt even more people. But nothing, I don't think anything you could have, like, I don't think that you not being able to stop him has anything. But again, perception's reality, even when it's not real. So even though me and everybody else in chat knows that that had nothing to do with you and that you're not responsible for anybody else's death, that's solely on that guy. If that's your perception, that's your reality, and that's what we have to respect. So I think that all goes back to what I was talking about with that narcissism stuff. But thank God you're not a narcissist. So that's why I think you're a really good person. You act like a hard ass and stuff like that, but like you're a very caring person. I've learned that about you. You're a loyal person. You know what I mean? Like, you're a really good person. So thank God you're still here with us. And thank God you're here to tell your story. And hopefully that your story will touch somebody else. But I think we all have a story. Like, I didn't know about Texas's story. I had no idea that about his job. I didn't know about any of that. Tom, I learned a little bit about Tom tonight. I'm just kidding, Tom.
At least you let me know that I wasn't a psychopath because I had those.
No, I don't think you are.
That revenge shit going on. Because
I think that was my point. Is that that's so
she
revenge
said you
for
have
someone like
survivor's guilt, so there's no way you could be a psychopath.
Oh my God, who said that? That is so true. Who just said that?
You did.
I did.
Yeah,
I just said that.
You said there's no way you can be a psychopath. You have survivor's guilt.
That's so funny because that's so true. I thought somebody just in the chat said that. I'm like, that's genius. Meanwhile, I said that. So, but it's true, right? Because somebody that is a psychopath or a narcissist, well, not necessarily just narcissist, but somebody that's a psychopath doesn't have the ability to feel guilt and remorse. So the fact that you have survivor's guilt shows that you're not a psychopath because you have guilt. So that's actually brilliant. But just to sum this up real quick, because we're almost going on 3 hours. I really had no intentions on doing this for 3 hours, but I did. Tomorrow I have to like get my house together to my other house to rent it. It's a whole mess. But anyway, just to like get this all up, I wrote deep down, even some. Oh, I wrote, would people let Kohberger sleep over if he walks free? So that was a question I posed. And I said, deep down, even some of his defenders know the truth. But this is the conclusion I came to. People love the idea of an innocent man being railroaded. But in this case, I don't think that that's what happened. So in closing, at the end of the day, justice isn't about viral theories or internet speculation. It's about facts. We should be open to it if new evidence proves Kohberger is innocent. But right now, the totality of the evidence overwhelmingly points in one direction. So let me know what you guys think, but always make sure that you stay informed yourself and that we're all doing our due diligence as far as making sure that we stick to the truth. Whether that's good or bad for our theories, right? Like I always say, some of the best or like biggest theories that we teach in colleges and universities came from failed experiments. Like, so sometimes accepting the facts leads to something even more brilliant. So like, I don't know, we all need to do our due diligence. So just as much as I want to say like, how don't people see this, that, and the other, I try to put myself in their shoes to see how maybe they see those things. And maybe it could just be that they like the underdog type thing and they see them as an underdog. Maybe at some point in their life, they felt like they were accused of something that they didn't do. And this is their way of like projecting it onto this case. It could be, so there's many different things that it could be. So I'm hoping that I eventually get this video together so that I could put it out there. But if anybody has anything that you think I should add to it or whatever, just please put it in the comments because I really would love your feedback. And then that way, you guys will know that I truly do listen and take in what you have to say. I want to read this real quick. So Texas said, kiddo, it's not your job to save the world. Just be grateful that you lived through what you went through. Right? I couldn't agree more.
Well, thank you, Texas, but
I agree. Tom doesn't have guilt, but he has remorse. I don't remember. I didn't read what it was about, though, so I'd have to go back and look. Tom, are you going to have to be the next person? Are you going to have to be next week's?
I have
co-host?
selective remorse.
Selective remorse. Tom's going to be next week's panel guest that will psychoanalyze it. No, I'm kidding. Just so you guys know, I am never psychoanalyzing anybody ever. What I did with Truth, that had nothing to do with psychoanalyzing. It was a story that she had told us when, alive before that I knew. So when I was talking about this revenge stuff, I was like, oh my God. So in people that aren't narcissistic, it's normal, if you don't have PTSD to feel this way, but if you do have something like PTSD, to have something like a revenge fantasy. But the thing is that for some people, like Bryan Kohberger, in my opinion, his revenge fantasy wasn't enough after a while. So he had to act on it. So it wasn't getting rid of his feelings of inadequacy because he was a narcissist, where you're not. And that's where that difference is.
Well, I think that he had excellent impulse control enough to learn enough about what he wanted to do before he put it in action.
Well, he shows that, right? He shows that, and that was part of that whole narcissistic revenge.
It's not something he did in his mind. It's not something that he was going to do in a reckless manner. It was something he was going to plan.
You're right.
And
I agree about the Papa Roger inside looking. Tonight was everything I needed, and appreciate you coming live, Doc, so we could hear Truth and her story. Serious, that is so sweet of you. Truth, you have so many people here that love you.
No, most of them can't stand me though.
Tom, real quick. So Tom's talking about guilt and remorse, and he says that he doesn't have guilt, but he has remorse. So I think that what you're saying is, I think what we're saying here is that you do have emotion, and maybe you don't do things that you regret. I usually try to take everything in life as a lesson. So even the things so instead of regretting something or when something bad happens, and it happens often, I try to think about the lesson I can learn from it and then move on from it. So I think I know what you mean. But if you were in a situation, I regret, but then move on.
Well,
so that is guilt. Regret wouldn't that be another word for, not another word, but kind of like a synonym, regret and guilt? Yeah. Or would that be remorse, regret and remorse? Or no, regret's just different altogether.
Yeah.
But I see what you mean. But actually, Tom, what I wanted to tell you was that's actually the healthy way to be. So some people don't feel it and they boggle it up and then explode. And then other people feel too much and they don't know how to control their emotion. And therefore, it's almost like it's explosive. And then there's people like you in the middle that can feel your emotion when it happens. You deal with it when it happens. You put it away and you move on. And that's actually the healthy way to do it. It lingers, guilt lingers and hampers people. So I agree with that. So guilt is literally just, think of it as change, just holding you back. That's all it is. And I always say that we have to sometimes forgive other people, and forgiveness doesn't mean that what the other person did was okay. When we forgive other people, we get rid of their power over us, because if you think about it, it actually takes energy to dislike somebody or to have a revenge fantasy, for example, right? But if you're able to forgive somebody or get to a point of forgiveness, what you're saying is, you're not saying what you did to me was okay. You're just saying, I refuse to allow you to have another moment of power over me ever again. And that's what forgiveness needs to be. And if somebody ever apologizes to you in real life, not you, Truth, people out there, if anybody ever apologizes to you, you don't have to say that's okay. Whenever I hear people say it's okay, I go out of my way to stop them and tell them not to do that anymore. because you're subconsciously telling the other person that that's okay what they did, because you're telling them that's okay. It's okay. It's not okay. Instead, say, I accept your apology. Instead, I accept your apology.
You know what a good example of. Have you ever watched it when like survivors or family members go after the suspect in court? Have you ever seen that? Like when they come across them, where they actually attack the suspect, like the family members of the slain or deceased?
Yes, I have.
Okay, well, I think what I'm going through, since it's PTSD and it's like a little bit of this and a little bit of that, it's not like I'm going to go through grief and then I'm going to go through this and then I'm going to go through this. It's all of it at the same time in itty bitty pieces.
That's right.
And I think I think complex PTSD is just, I don't think it's something that ever goes away. You just have to learn how to deal with it.
Okay, so I agree with the fact that you have to learn how to deal with it. So learning things like, even things like, but there's different types of therapy. So like cognitive behavioral therapy, stuff like that.
What I'm saying is a lot of times these people go to trial and, the way I'm calculating it, like, say trial, it takes 2 years to get to trial on a murder case, okay? By the time they get sentenced, that family is probably in the angry phase of their guilt. I mean, of their grief. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And then they have to go through that trial and relive everything that their loved one went through. So, I guess that's kind of like explaining PTSD, because sometimes you go through it in your mind like you went through it yesterday. It's like ripping a scab off, and it's not healing.
That's exactly right. But you can heal from PTSD, but you might always have like residuals, things that come back. So things that have to do with your senses. So when we smell, see, touch, taste something that reminds us of something traumatic, it'll bring us back to that traumatic event. But also remember that those same things happen on the other side of the aisle too. So at my friend's, at his sentencing, I don't know why, but in Philadelphia, there's just like, it looks like church pews, but there's no like center aisle. So you're sitting with like the prosecution and the defense, like everybody just sits together in like one thing, which I think is like a recipe for disaster. So when the judge, when the 4 guys were found guilty, the second trial, they were all found guilty on all 44 charges. And when they were found guilty and the judge gave the 2 brothers their sentences, the one got 15 to 30, but then the other brother, because he was 18 and should have known better, he got life without the possibility of parole. And as soon as they said that, their third brother, who was sitting behind me, and I had no idea, hit me so hard in the head that his bracelet and his watch broke off and hit like the pew in front of me. And the judge, like the cops like jumped on the judge to like, because they didn't know what it was. It sounded like a gun. And I knew I got hit in the back of the head. And all I could think, it's so weird. You know, when people are like, your life flashes before you and you think about like your kids and you think about your whole life. I felt so guilty. I was like, I literally thought I got shot in the head. And all I could think of was, oh my God, Mr. and Mrs. Thierry are going to lose another one to like gun violence. That's literally what I thought was Mr. and Mrs. Thierry sitting next to me, my friend's parents, and them, because I'm like a daughter to them. They lost their only child. So I fill that void for them. So in that moment, that's all I could think of was, oh my God, they're going to have to do this again. And Mr. Thierry went to jump on the guy, but then the cops jumped on him and they arrested him and stuff like that. And then I had to go back to court, and I found out that this boy was in community college. And I said this right from the beginning, like, I kind of want to know what was going on in their lives. Like, where was their mom, stuff like that. Like, what was going on in their lives that this was normal for them to just find somebody that they think has money so that they could go rob them. Like, something's going on in your life at that point. So my thing is, for that kid to punch me in the head, I had a concussion. So he hit me that hard. But For him to hit me in the head in that moment that hard and take his anger out on me, he thought that I was Mike's wife or girlfriend. I don't know, I guess because I was like there the whole time with his parents. And I don't know what that made, whatever. But I found out that he was going to college and that he was the only one of his brothers that were like trying to stay on like the right side of the law. And when I went up to testify, I don't know what the fuck is wrong with me, you guys. I literally said to the judge that I don't want to see I don't want to see him get caught in the system like his brothers. And that if he, was continuing to go to school and stuff and he could make something of himself, that I'd rather that. So the judge wound up giving him a sentence to where he was able to he had to do all these things like A, B, C, and D. But if you did these by this time, you got it was like a misdemeanor as opposed to a felony type thing.
It was almost like a drug court, but for
yes, that's exactly what happened.
But for your temper instead of drugs.
And he also was on the autism spectrum scale, so that could have also been his way of not knowing how to communicate his anger in that moment, and then just having that outburst on me. And my thing is, why is this but the thing is, I always wonder whatever happened to that brother, did he ever finish? Because we're talking 15 years ago. One of the guys are about to get out of jail soon. I'm just waiting for it. I don't know when it's going to happen, but I'm waiting for them to call me and tell me. Hit that button for the doc, please. Thank you. Serious. Please hit subscribe and like. And I think I'm going to end it, you guys, because I have to meet these people. It's 2:16 a.m. on the East Coast here, y'all. And it takes me an hour or so to fall asleep because
I forgot you're an hour ahead of me.
I am. And I have to meet these people tomorrow for rugs. And I don't want to be a pushover. I don't want them to talk me into shit that I'm not willing to get. I don't know.
So I'm taking my husband with me. For a spine.
Yeah.
Okay, call me and I'll be your backbone.
No, these people literally hustled me into renting my house, I feel like. But
I know, and
they're gonna give me good money.
And they're gonna give you good money, but
this is the thing, you guys. They're going to give me 3 months up front. So it's first, last month, and security deposit. And I'm only giving them a 6-month lease because I don't know them like that. And they apparently just got kicked out of not kicked out, but they had to leave. Long story short. So hopefully I don't get screwed. If I get screwed, again, it's another lesson learned in life. I'll bounce right the motherfucker back. You know what I mean? I'll bounce back and battle and jack. That's exactly what I'll do. But anyway, you guys, I'm going to end this. I think we all need our beauty sleep. Girls and guys alike. And thank you all for spending your Saturday night with me. I appreciate you more than I can say. And I guess I'll see you guys Monday. Hopefully you guys join me Monday at 7:30 Eastern. So 6:30 for you, Truth.
No, Jack, really, some of us with PTSD end up with impulse control with our anger. And
you do. However, in psychology,
it's not like reassurance, but it's I don't know what it is. It's you have to talk about it, because if you don't, it'll boil.
Right, but I think what he's also saying is that with somebody in psychotherapy, you can rewrite the story so that you now become the victor in your story as opposed to the person that was victimized. So it helps you to gain control over your symptoms, if you will. So not necessarily over, you're not saying that you're just going to be all right, PTSD, you're gone altogether, but learning how to gain control over your emotions in that moment. So that, which I think that you do a good job of, as far as I know,
Well, I'm not on any drugs or depression medicine or antipsychotic.
That's what I mean. And you just told us you can control your anger, but I think what he's saying is sometimes you need people right now. You're in a situation where we're all giving you positive regard and telling you that we're happy that nothing, bad happened to you that night as far as dying, and that you're here for that reason. So sometimes you just need to hear other people say kind things and reassure you that you're a good person and that you shouldn't feel survivor's guilt because there's nothing that you could have done that would have changed this guy's life. Do you know what I mean? And I think that that's where that was coming from. I see the good in everybody, you guys. Again, it's a blessing and a curse.
Well, it was nice talking to you.
It was great talking to you. Love y'all. Thank you so much. Please hit like and subscribe so that we could talk. Not that we can't talk without that, but it would be nice to hit like and subscribe because there might be
Good night,
somebody out there
Sirius. Good night,
that could hear
Tom. Good
this.
night, Texas.
Yes, good night. Good night, Jack, Tom, Sirius, Texas. Who else? I don't know. Truth. Good night, Truth. Thank you again for coming up here, girl. I appreciate you. I appreciate all of you. Again, Monday night at 7:30 Eastern, me and my colleague, Dr. Anya Schultz, will be going over the Kohberger case. Last week, we went over the Kohberger case as related to psychoanalytic theory. And this week, we're going to continue that, but focus more in on ego and like ego depletion and stuff like that. So please join us for that. It should be a good one. And I hope you all had a beautiful night. And thank you for sharing your Valentine's with me. Yes, on to a movie. I'm going to go watch a documentary, I think, Texas, on that guy to go to bed. Probably not the best thing to watch before you go to bed, but we'll see what happens. All right, you guys, I'll talk to you later.